Hello there, Comic Clan, and welcome to Comics of the Cross, the greatest streamers you have never heard of. I, of course, am one of your hosts for today, as always, Cross, joined by my partner in crime, the other half of the dynamic duo of Twitch, Nitro.
What's up, good people?
Ads coming in with
today.
Ads coming in with that host, as always, right off the bat. Thank you so much, Ads. Also, shout out, thank you, Zombie Apostle, for that follow where we were in our starting screen there. Thank you so much, and welcome to the Comic Clan. We appreciate you and are grateful that you are here with us. Hey, War Hero LG in the house. How are you doing, sir? Good to see you. Thank you for everyone that's came to join us, and it's been a while, dude. It's been a while since we've done it. We were talking about this
just talking before this, right? And then you said it had been a month.
It's been about a month since we actually did one of our podcasts, and I'm like, that's kind of crazy now that we think about it. You're like, the interview with David Pepos was literally our last podcast. It was about a month ago. We've been hitting that Sea of Thieves grind with the Pirates Life stuff.
Dude, that was such a good interview, though.
That was a really good. If you guys missed that out, David Pepos is an absolute legend. Phenomenal writer as well. His books are well worth writing. We reviewed the week before that Spencer and Locke, and it was such an amazing book. Getting to talk to him about it, and like almost immediately after the show, I went and picked up the OZ #1 as well. I went and ordered it. I'm still waiting on it coming in, but his like current book that he's working on in the OZ, like she's a take on the Wizard of Oz, like you've never seen it before.
It looks awesome.
LJ saying, doing well. I never have a Sunday off and had to come see you. We appreciate it, LJ, that you're taking your Sunday off to actually come and hang out with us. I appreciate it. Trust me, I get it. I know how much a day off like means, and to go and invest into someone else's stream, it's like it takes a lot of effort on a day off, and I appreciate that you want to come and hang out with us and spend some time here. Yeah, we absolutely love you to bits, LJ. Thank you so much for stopping by, brother. We don't get to see you that often in here for the podcast, but it means a lot. And yep, Zombie Apostle, thank you so much for stopping by too. It's well appreciated. But yeah, we are back, and what a way to get back into the podcast than by jumping into...
What a way, indeed.
Marvel's return to cinema.
Their triumphant return? ?
The return of first Marvel content to hit the movie theatre since Spider-Man Far From Home hit at the end of 2019. We went the whole of 2020 without any new Marvel content, which if you're...
or an Eternals trailer.
You know, like you and this Eternals trailer, you've got this obsession with Eternals coming out.
They had it ready. They had it ready for Black Widow when Black Widow was supposed to be released last spring. They had it ready. And they just didn't drop it for like a year.
You got this weird hype for the Eternals movie that I just don't have in general as well. You are so excited for this movie, and I'm very much like, it looks alright.
I'm just a fan of like mythology, like Norse, Greek, Roman, all that stuff, and I think this has like that sort of vibe to it. So I don't know. I feel like it's going to be really good. I feel like it's going to be a sleeper hit. You heard it here, folks. First. Yep, it's exactly what I meant to say. You heard it here, folks. First.
You heard it here, folks, first. That's a new sound for the sound alert board, that one.
You heard it here, folks, first. Somebody want to copy that.
Ads coming into the chat saying, I'm caught up in Loki, I want an alligator. Absolutely. If you guys aren't aware, make sure you join us again next Sunday as well, because we will be delving into Loki, a full review of that season.
Awesome.
Which I don't think I spoil it to say now because it's all over the internet. A review of that first season of Loki, as it was confirmed he is getting a second season, and we are excited and pumped to talk about that one. That show is Marvel's been killing it at the Disney Plus shows, and Loki is probably the best one so far in my opinion.
I would agree.
Like small spoiler for what we're going to say next week, but they rocked it.
Oh yeah, the last episode just blew my mind.
LJ saying, ads, we got plenty down here in Louisiana. Come and get one.
I heard alligator is good though, like to eat, but I've never tried it.
No. Did I try alligator? I've tried a few different meats. I think I might have tried alligator a long time ago. I can't remember though.
I heard rattlesnake is good too.
Never tried rattlesnake. That's one I've not tried. Probably one of my favourites I've ever tried was wild boar.
I've never tried that.
I got to try wild boar, and it was really good meat, really good quality meat. I'm like, so if you ever get the chance, it's well worth it. But we are not, of course, talking about Loki this week. We are not delving into that because, honestly, I kind of hate when shows do that like that. It's like, like Black Widow dropped last weekend, so we're going to talk about it on Sunday.
Yeah. Just give people room to breathe.
It's like Loki finished on Wednesday, so the first opportunity we get to do the podcast after that, we're going to talk. No, not everybody gets to see it right away.
Yeah.
Some of us are obsessive. I know some of us see it right away, but some of us also have lives and can't get to the cinema the opening weekend for Black Widow. It's like it's. I'd say Kangaroo and Wild Boar are nice. Kangaroo's nice as well. I think I tried that once as well. And
I've never tried that.
But yeah, so we are probably a week after most other podcasts talking about this, but we are going to be delving into some Black.
We're okay with that. We're okay with that.
Well, that's it. If you're showing up here, you're here to hear our opinion on it anyway. It's like if you want to get the full take on the movie, you've gone and seen it for yourself at this point.
Yeah.
You're not coming here to find out what happens in the movie. You're coming here to hear us ramble for 2 hours, because apparently you guys like doing that, and I still don't quite get why, but we appreciate it nonetheless.
And we love to ramble, so we'll continue to do this.
And this is going to be a ramble. I'm not going to lie. Nitro will attest that my brain was broken after coming out the cinema and like just kept processing so much stuff.
I've never seen Cross at a loss for words before until the movie credits finished and the lights came on in the theater, and I looked over and I said, "So, what do you think?" Lost for words. I've never seen it before in my life. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's like I will preface this my conversation by saying this, like that I did get like 4 hours sleep the night before seeing this, and I've been running on very little sleep thanks to my youngest not sleeping. So I've not had like a proper night's sleep for about 3-4 weeks at this point. So there was a couple of occasions where I felt my eyes closing in the movie theater. that I will say was unrelated to the movie. It was sheerly because like, it was nice, it was dark, it was warm. Those chairs are comfier than you look. See, when you've not had sleep for 4 weeks, those chairs are pretty comfy.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
But we are going to delve into some of the conversation regarding this. LJ already saying, looking forward to the discussion. I enjoyed the movie, and I'm like, get your thoughts and opinions on it there as well. Also, as well, I'm going to preface this because it's the internet and people get mad at things. This is our opinion.
Yes.
If your opinion disagrees with us, that's fine. Like, and I always say that about the comic book movies and the Marvel movies in general, because there's such a wide variety of them.
Yeah, because Cross and I disagree vehemently on some points.
Yeah, we've had
comic book movies.
Yeah, we've had points where like we cannot agree on stuff. Like, even yesterday we had the Iron Man 2 discussion again, where it's like. It's like Nitro like adores that movie, and I just can't get over the fact of it doesn't have a script, and clearly doesn't have a script.
Well, and I think
that's not to say there aren't cool moments in the movie. That's not to say there's not enjoyable stuff that happens.
Yeah.
But there are clear moments that make it a bad movie.
and I think that Avengers 1 is a completely overrated movie, almost borderline bad. I still enjoy it for what it is, and there are aspects of the movie that I enjoy.
Yeah.
But I know, Cross, you like it way more than I do.
Yeah, I still enjoy it. By no means it isn't the best Avengers movie out there. It definitely got better as they went on, not including Ultron, because Ultron was... I don't know what they were doing with that one. But, like, there's so much great stuff that... adds ones with Whiplashes too. But that's the thing as well. That's the whole point of the comic book industry like that. It's like they put out a whole bunch of books out there to get people's attention.
Yep.
You're not going to love every book out there, and that's fine.
Yeah.
It's like that is absolutely fine. Not everybody likes the same books, the same stories, the same characters. So this is our opinion. If it disagrees, don't send us angry messages, because I will just delete them. I don't care enough to read them. I'm not going to lie. It's like not over a Black Widow movie. I'm like, it's not worth it.
Yeah,
it's not worth it fighting over a character that's dead now. Spoilers for Endgame. If anyone didn't know and thought this was the start of a new franchise, Logical Robot coming in and saying, respect your opinion, guys, but Black Widow for me personally was Iron Man 3 levels of MCU horrendous. And we're going to hold back our official kind of thing now, because we're going to talk about some other stuff, but we're going to get into it. But like right there, compared to LJ and Logical Robot, there's already two different views of this.
Exactly.
And I've already heard it. I've already heard people like online tearing this movie apart. I've heard other people saying apparently it's the best MCU movie ever. Personally, I don't know how you could have got that, because some of the movies that are out there are phenomenal. Like
I'm doing the Carrie Ells head shake.
Yeah, it's like, whether you love this movie or hate it, this is not close to, like, Yeah, absolutely. Logical Robot. I was kind of shocked myself, but I've heard people say that like, oh, it's the best MCU movie ever, and it's like, off the top
Probably
of
want to
my
sit the next
head,
couple plays out.
yeah, off the top of my head, without trying, I could name 5 to 10 that I'm like, that's a better level movie, and that's like, at least 5. Like, I mean, like, if you compare like what I consider one of the best movies in the MCU, not even including like Infinity War and Endgame, we talked about it yesterday, was Winter Soldier.
Agreed.
I'm like, one of, if not the best movie that's came out in the MCU, and I'm like,
I would agree.
Good comparison to Black Widow because it's that kind of spy espionage-esque movie. They're not on the same level, not even close to me, personally. But Marvel really outplayed themselves when they delivered Winter Soldier and Civil War. Never came close, and Winter Soldier is still one of the best out there for me. I could quite happily put it down and watch it and not have issues with that movie. Like that was one of their high points for me. So yeah, I can't say it was the best one, but it was good. Yeah, LJ is like definitely not the best. Hey Locke, how's it going?
No worries, bro.
You know I love you, but I haven't seen it yet, so I'm a Lurk. Thank you for the Lurk, Locksteady. We appreciate it. And good point for that as well. If you haven't read the title on our stream today, we are going to go full spoilers into this.
We're spoiling the crap out of the movie.
So if you don't want spoilers on this will be uploaded onto YouTube later. This will be uploaded onto wherever you can get podcasts from, audio, such as iTunes, Spotify, places like that. So if you want to catch it later for that, you definitely can if you've not seen it yet and don't want anything spoiled. All I ask is if you're able to, if you're not going to hang around, is to drop a Lurk like Locke could, if you could help our viewership kind of stay up for that and at least get us a bit more prominence with that so other people can find us. We would greatly appreciate that, but if you're not able to even do that, I get it. But before we delve into the movie, Logical Robot coming in with that follow. Thank you so much, Logical. We appreciate it.
I don't know if you're a dude. Again, a colloquialism with me. So
yeah,
but thank you.
Yeah, FYI,
we call everybody dude. We
say dude a lot, probably more than 30-something-year-old guys. You should probably say dude, and it is literally a case of like if you're a guy, if you're a woman, if you're whatever, if you're transgender, if you're pansexual, whatever, we say dude. It's literally
I cross species with my saying of dude. I call my dog dude. I call everybody dude. So
Tom Levine coming and saying dude is universal now. Absolutely, Tom. Absolutely, dude is a universal term. I will call anyone dude.
Dude's to Rooney.
I ain't seen it, but spoilers don't bother me, and I love watching you dissect the movie. Oh, thank you, Az. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. But before we delve into the actual movie, I wanted to talk because we got to do something really exciting yesterday as part of like seeing the movie.
We did, first time in a long time.
We legitimately got to actually hang out with each other.
And for those of you who don't know, Cross and I, like, we only live like 10 or 15 minutes away from each other.
Yeah.
So it's not like, but we haven't got a chance just because of everything that's been going on to kind of hang out. And we got a chance to do that yesterday.
Yeah, awesome. Just because of quarantine, because of all that sort of stuff with the lockdown. We both have families, we both have kids. For anyone that's not aware, I also have an autistic kid, which makes things a million times harder trying to arrange stuff, as we talked a bit about yesterday as well.
Yeah.
But we actually got to hang out yesterday, and we actually even got to go to our local comic shop. Shout out to Richmond Comics.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't say this out loud in public, but so we got to the comic book store early. I thought they opened at 10, but they didn't open until 11. And
so we were there like a full half hour before they opened.
We were there 30 minutes early.
We were there at 10:30.
So, like a dummy, I didn't look at the door sign to check the hours, and I just jiggled the door, and it wasn't opening. And then Philip, who's the owner, who we actually interviewed last year, came to the door and let us in kind of like a little bit early. So I was like, dude, I'm a VIP. This is pretty sweet. Yeah, but it was probably because of Cross.
I love it. We got in there a whole half hour early. He's beaming with us joy. Like, not to mention the fact of like nobody else came to the door until after 11, so it didn't make a difference.
We had the whole store to ourselves for 30 minutes. It was awesome.
Logical Robot saying, it looks like you both are in the same room facing each other. Must be the colour scheme. Oh, do we? That's kind of sweet. Tom Levine saying the same
thing. I'm just right over his shoulder. I'm in his shadow, so you can't see me.
Yeah, that's it. We're in the same room back to back. No, it's like apparently we both just like blue and white. Like I can't even remember what colour my office used to be before I moved in. Like I literally had to paint this office. It was like pink, I think, beforehand, and I'm like, I'm not.
Was it really?
Yeah, I'm not doing like a bright pink office. Like I'm not going to do it. It's going to hurt my head too much. Like, when I mean pink, I mean like proper pink, like bright. Oh. And it's like, nope. That's not going to work.
Logical Robot and Tom, it's all about continuity here at Comics and Across. We want to make sure that everything feels cohesive. as a unit.
Yeah, even our stream rooms. It's totally planned. We meant it, every bit of it.
We both have zero. So
Yeah, we
I have
both have
Sprite
zero.
Zero. It's Coke Zero. See, it's
Yeah.
we're just synchronous with
Coke,
with our brains.
Coke Zero, if you ever want to sponsor us, we will take it.
Sprite Zero as well. I'm open to offers.
I know they'll never, but you know.
I'm not opposed to tattooing your brand on me. I'll just throw that out.
I'm not opposed to tattooing Coke. I'm not opposed to tattooing your brand on him as well.
As long as it's cherry Coke, I'm good.
I don't start your cherry Coke crap.
Oh, whatever.
Don't start.
Dude, cherry vanilla. Have you had their? All right, I know, way random, but have you had their orange Coke Zero?
The orange one, is that the orange vanilla thing? Like,
yeah, it's like orange vanilla. It's
I have
good, man.
no. I wanted to try it, but I've not had a chance to actually try it yet.
Pretty good, dude.
Excuse me. But all right, so we thought as well we're going to start off, since we got to go into Richmond Comics, and realised how little money we had to spend compared to what there was to buy. Because Nitro and I
think it through fully.
Nitro and I both do this thing when we go to comic shops of like we literally go through comics and start going through the long boxes, start going through the shelf, start looking at all the stuff we want to get, and then we'll meet together, show each other all the cool stuff we found, and then we'll go through them, and actually start tallying up prices and realizing what we can afford and what stuff do we really want and what stuff is like, is it okay to put back in the shelf because we just can't get it. Yeah, because both being family men with kids and stuff like that, you only have so much money to spend in the comic shop. You only have so much money to get. We are not big buyers of like weekly comics and stuff coming out on a massive weekly basis just because the finances don't allow it. I'd love to go and get stuff on a weekly basis. I can't. But we did look through because we collect specialties, we collect stuff that we like and we enjoy and we want to get. And we found a few interesting little pieces. So do you want to start off showing off some of the stuff that you got?
Sure. So I'll start with this. Obviously, for those of you who have been following the stream for a while, this I didn't get this at the comic book store, but this is the Epics of Inkanu. We actually interviewed the author, Ahmed Amin, last year. He's the one who wrote this, and he gave us a signed copy of it. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Yeah. I actually got my hands on that yesterday because Cross gave it to me.
Yeah, that's just how long it's been since we've seen each other in person. Like literally, we've seen each other in person barely since the lockdown. But like, I got those like before our 12-hour stream, which was like months ago. And if you want to catch up with that interview, by the way, check out our YouTube and our podcast where it is there archived, so you can go and check it out.
So my exposure to comics was a long box that my cousin had, and it was full of 1990s X-Men, like Jim Lee, Golden Era X-Men stuff. So I had a handful of the Executioner's Song, which was like a 12-part miniseries that crossed over X-Force and X-Men and Uncanny X-Men, I believe. So I was only missing three of the parts. So I got all three of those yesterday. I got them in the original bag with the trading card, which I'm pretty stoked about. Because Cross, you know me. You've known me for like 5 or 6 years. I've been trying to complete this
since I met him and we did our first like raid for comic books. He's been looking for these issues. He has been digging through long boxes for these since as long as I've known him.
Dude, for real.
Both. Let me just catch up with chat, sorry, because we've got people flying into chat here. LJ saying he prefers graphic novels. I personally do as well. I grew up in Scotland where we didn't always get weekly issues, so whenever I got comics it was always like 1 or 2 issues of a story, so I always preferred graphic novels. That way at least I get a whole story. Logical Robot saying I bought my daughter her first comic book a few weeks ago, Teen Titans no less. Awesome, good choice as well. I'm a Titans fan. I love the Teen Titans, and that's a great starting point for getting someone into comics. Lineday67, alright mate, how is it going, Lineday? Thank you so much for popping in and hanging out with us. Appreciate seeing you here. Thank you for coming to join the conversation. Seal saying easy, just pull your monthly allowances and share, or ask your mom to up the amount. Ha ha ha. Alright, I like having stories in one collection. Yeah, absolutely, LJ. I totally get that.
I'm definitely a collectionist. I have to have all the stuff in the collection.
It's like I hate getting like 1 or 2 issues. Like 1 or 2 is enough to get you into a story, but I'm like I want to get at least a story arc, even if I don't get like a whole collection of stuff. At least that story arc.
Yeah.
But sorry, did I cut you off there? You can.
No, you're good, continue. Man. Like I said, I'm a huge '90s X-Men fan, and I've also been trying to collect the issue 1 for Volume 2 for X-Men. I'm a huge Jim Lee fan. And I was missing Magneto. I'm still missing the Wolverine cover, which they didn't have, I don't think.
Yeah.
But I've been wanting to get this one for a while. Again, huge Jim Lee fan. I love all of his art.
And for anyone that doesn't know, that one that he got, that's like a big 4 different variant covers for that issue one that all join together into one big like splash page of
There's like cover. Beast and Storm, Cyclops and Jean, Wolverine and somebody, and then Magneto, I think.
Yeah, so like there's 4 to that all join together. It's like so.
Huge again. For those of you who know me, know I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. I started collecting Spider-Man 2099. I got issue number 1 somewhere. I think it was a comic book convention, I believe. And I picked up issue 2 yesterday, which I'm pretty excited about. I'm just missing 3, so I'll have 1 through 4. And then I found this, which I did not know existed. Again, I am a huge Spawn fan, for those of you who have followed the stream for any amount of time. And from Image Comics, they also do Wildcats with Grifter. So I found this. So Spawn and the Wildcats kind of team up. I get the first issue of this. I don't know. This looks like it's from the 90s, like late 90s, but I don't know offhand because I've never seen it before. But it looks pretty sweet. Alan Moore. It's from Alan Moore, which was awesome.
I think Logical Robot's right up your alley. Just put in the chat there, God McFarlane, and I'm like,
yeah, I love McFarlane.
Nitro is a McFarlane like obsessive. He loves Todd McFarlane stuff, whether it's Spawn, whether it's a Spider-Man run. Nitro is a Todd McFarlane guy through and through.
So those were my pickups, man. I had like we always do. I had like 10 other comics that I wanted to get, and I just cut it in half and put it back. But
yeah, there was a bunch of them. So let me go through some of the ones that I got as well then. I feel like a lot of mine kind of like tie into, some of them tie in together. Kind of like Nitro, got certain heroes that I'm big fans of. One of the ones that I'm big fans of, which is a lot of people out there are obsessive Batman fans. I'm actually an obsessive Robin fan. I prefer like Nightwing, Red Hood, Tim Drake. I'm obsessive with those characters. Absolutely adore them. They're all favourites of mine. So I saw this. I did have a Red Hood I had to put back because it was just too out of budget. I found a Red Hood in the Outlaws #1. It was $8 and I had to put it back because it's just too much. But I did find this Red Hood one, number 52, which I love just because of that cover art. That's one that's going up on my wall. Dude.
That's such a cool cover.
The cover is just beautiful art. No, that's getting hung up somewhere. That one is absolutely stunning.
That's got to go in your comic frames, man.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to go up here. I might even replace the Red Hood one I've got up there actually, just because this is a sweet piece for it. Anyone asks, I'm an obsessed like Red Hood fan. I love Red Hood. Then also as well, I think it was the early 2000s that happened. Tim Drake got his own run in this series when he first took on the mantle of Red Robin. It's the only Red Robin series that ever was with him. Probably the only series that ever will be now that he's called Drake, which I'm not even going to get into that. But I've been trying to find the issues of Red Robin ever since. They're few and far between. So I picked up issue 14, a new one, showing, I'm assuming Tim Drake fighting himself, because I don't think it's Damien. But it's like Tim Drake fighting himself in both the Red Robin and the Robin costumes. Sweet cover, but it's another one to add to that collection. Then this one I found. I'm a bit of a Daredevil fan as well. And I found this one. Lenticular cover of Daredevil, the Man Without Fear, number 3. Anyone who doesn't know, Daredevil Man Without Fear was the, I think I'm safe in saying, iconic run of Daredevil written by Frank Miller himself. Mm-hmm. And I just found this in a long box. I feel like this should have been like on a shelf somewhere. Absolutely adore that run. It's like one of the definitive runs. If you ever want to read what Daredevil is actually like, one of the definitive runs is a Frank Miller run. So I got that, and it's a stunning cover. So like that's one I'm going to have to try and find the rest of them on. I've got a new series to try and collect now. And then chat's gone. Logical Robot saying, dude, I still have the Spawn Wizard issues sealed and everything. Sweet, man.
Dude, I remember Wizard.
Wizard magazine, man.
Such a good magazine.
Barely hear
tally up your comics.
You barely hear anybody talking about Wizard magazine, but for a while it was a thing. Yeah,
my comic is 10.0, mint condition. it's definitely worth that much.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like because we always got those right. We can always tell when something's worth that much. Tom Levine saying I got to Right Spawn for a few issues. Best job ever. Yeah, absolutely, Tom. Like,
Good grief.
I'm not gonna lie. It's like that's like one of those top spots. Like Spawn is probably the biggest, like, or at least one of the biggest, like, indie characters out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, still as popular as ever. So like, I'm not gonna lie. Fully jealous you got the opportunity to write that because. Especially like for Todd McFarlane, that's his baby. Like
Yeah.
Spawn created a toy company. Todd McFarlane created a toy company just to release Spawn merchandise. You know, it's like that's been his baby for so long. So, so yeah, absolutely. And Tom Levine, phenomenal writer on that stuff as well. By the way, just little shout out for Tom there. It's like absolute legend as well. LJ saying, I recently discovered that Daredevil got the sight of Heimdall at one point. I need those coming. Yeah, during War of Realms, Jason Aaron's War of Realms, the one I showed you yesterday. Actually, we seen it on the shelf.
That's the one that I want to get. Yeah.
War of Realms, he actually takes over the role of Heimdall and gets Heimdall's sight, which is just a phenomenal thing to think of doing. Is to give Heimdall's sight to somebody like Daredevil.
Yeah.
How's it going? Tom doing the smiley face. Logic Robot, awesome, absolutely. Can I throw in a Spawn fan pic I made while on the subject? Todd, my main art inspiration. Yeah, absolutely, man. Just a huge Daredevil fan, and then this is probably my big get from yesterday because like trying to find this now is a massive thing. Like this is a thick first issue of a comic. This is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Last Ronin series that has been coming out. It has been highly acclaimed. Trying to get it on the shelves.
I want to get on that, man.
It's like trying to find it on the shelves. It's like so freaking hard right now. Oh, can you get that post?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Logical Robot. Skeets has a bit of an issue when people post stuff like that. I'm sorry about that. I shouldn't have timed you out. Do me a favour, whisper it if you can on Twitch to Nitro, to Nitrogen B, and he'll get it up for it.
Yeah, it's not letting me do anything with it.
Oh, give me a sec. Let me have a look. Sorry about that.
Dude, that's sweet, man. Did you draw that?
I don't know if I see he's coming. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Dude, that's pretty sick. It's pretty sick.
Alright, let me... Well, yeah, sorry about that, Robot. Let me...
I might be doing something wrong, but I just...
Okay, you should be back now. So you can whisper that to me, whisper it to the Comics in the Cross page, and I'll grab it and post it. Then sorry about that.
Yeah,
sorry about that.
A little sensitive.
Yeah, Skeets freaks out at stuff being posted, and I keep trying to fix him, and it keeps not working. So sorry about that. But yeah, as I was saying, there's like so Last Ronin. If you have not checked out, if you're a Turtles fan and you have not checked out Last Ronin, it is a well worthwhile series. Basically, it's like the story for the end of Turtles. The story takes place of the Last Ronin. He is the last of the 4 turtles. 3 of the turtle brothers are dead. There's only one left standing. It's basically post-apocalyptic. The world's like done. They lost sort of situation.
Yeah.
And it's a one last push to take them all down. I'm not going to reveal which of the brothers is still alive, because that's part of the mystery at first, is we don't know which of the 4 it is that survives. But I was going through the shelves and there was number 2 and number 3 were there on the shelf, like a lot of them. But I could not see a number 1. I thought I probably missed it. And then right at the back, I found a number 1, and not only a number 1, but a number 1 with the cover by Kevin Eastman. For anyone that doesn't know, Kevin Eastman is the creator of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That's so sweet.
And this comic style is the style of the comics from the original comic. They used to be this black and white style. And look to them, so it's a cover based on like doing the Last Ronin, looking like the original sort of turtle style. So I seen that, and I'm like, getting a number 1 was almost a must get at some point. But seeing it with that variant cover, that was a definitive. I need to get this.
Yeah, that was sweet, man. That was a good pickup.
So I seen that, and it was the only one there, and I could see the jealousy in your face, Nitro, because
Dude,
you're like,
I was so jealous. I was trying to hide it as best as I could. But I
you're
was
like,
like,
is there another one then? Is there another number one?
I just cried in the corner for a little bit, but I got over it. It was okay.
You
Yeah,
know?
dude, that was a good pickup, man. That was awesome.
But I found
we
out
got some good pickups, man. We started looking through the long boxes a little bit. Like you said, it was like ridiculously overwhelming.
It was really overwhelming. They've got so many long boxes, and I'm like, I'm like rushing through my head trying to think of all this stuff. Like, what am I looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I made a list of like there were specific comics that I wanted, and I got some of them. But there was probably, if I had to guess, 100 long boxes in there, and there was no way I'm going through all those.
No, absolutely, man, absolutely. Tom coming back in saying there shouldn't be. I wasn't told any of the details at the time, but I do know McFarlane was 100% committed to not letting anyone else dictate how he wanted to do it, which is how it should be, I think.
Yeah, I agree. That's his baby. I mean, the first movie holds a special place in my heart. It is not that rewatchable. Just going to be 100% honest. It is not aged very well at all.
No, it's not that good of a movie. You look back. I remember seeing that as a kid in the 90s, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
John Leguizamo though is a beast.
John Leguizamo is like, he's the weirdest, but yet it kind of works casting.
It works, man. It works.
I don't know why it works, like him in that role, but
yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with the new movie. I think they said they're gonna take more of a Jaws approach, where you're not really gonna see Spawn full on until maybe the very end, which
yeah, I heard that
it could work, it couldn't work, we'll see.
I heard rumors it's meant to be more focused on the cops and stuff rather than on him. And
it's funny.
But I mean, but that's it though. That's why that movie was pushed back for so long, because McFarlane wanted it done his way, and I'm like, you know what? You know what? If you've got 100% rights over that and it's your character, I don't blame him.
Yeah, I like the animated series War Hero. Yeah, I really like the animated series too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's his baby, man. He should have 100% say over over what's done.
Absolutely. But yeah, that was our pickups from the comic book store yesterday. So we got to go and do that and got to hang out and chat. We chatted a lot of stuff for Loki and the future of the Marvel Universe and all that sort of stuff.
We got in some good discussions, man. We were like, you were like, hey, we should probably not talk about this, or we're gonna ruin the stream tomorrow or the next week.
Because we were talking stuff about freaking Loki and getting into stuff, and I'm like, this is stuff we should be saving for next week. But
so that goes to show you guys, we would do this if nobody showed up, because we do it anyway.
That's why we started filming it and putting it on Twitch, because this is what we do normally.
This is what we do.
We sit and have conversations like this, so we thought might as well make a podcast out of it.
The animated series was superb. It was so good. I didn't have HBO growing up, but when I got the free trial and stuff like that, I loved watching it.
I've not even looked. Is it on HBO Max? Because it was an HBO series.
Oh, that's actually a good call out. I don't know.
I've not even looked in HBO Max to see if the Spawn animated series is on there, because technically it's HBO. So, the passion for you guys, we appreciate. Thank you, Little Robot. We appreciate that. All right.
Definitely passionate.
All right. So we have rambled about our normal stuff. Wow, we're at 40 minutes already. Dang. It is on HBO Max, LG. I'll need to go give it a check again then. Not seen a Spawn animated thing for years.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either.
So last threshold here. Once again, we're going full spoilers for Black Widow. I'm always tempted, and I say this every time we do it, I'm always tempted to say when I do the countdown, okay, full spoiler, saying something that is 100% a spoiler that would ruin it for someone, just to prove a point.
Yes. It's like people who haven't seen Endgame. Spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Black Widow dies.
Yeah.
Oops! Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert for a 2-year-old movie at this point, 2.5-year-old almost.
Right?
So we are going to go full spoilers for Black Widow here. Again, this is our opinions on it and what we thought of the movie. Get your opinions, your thoughts, join the conversation in the chat here with us. But we are going full spoilers, so if you are hanging around from this point on, you have been warned that the movie will be getting spoiled for you, because we're going to go into everything. And trust me, we have got some stuff to say on some of this. Double checked, it's on there. Awesome. Well, I know what I'm doing later. That's my night sorted. I don't know about you. But alright, so we are delving in. Black Widow, the triumphant return
Wasn't it crazy when Galactus showed up at the end?
Yeah, man, it was absolutely. And the massive war took place with him versus Doctor Doom, and the Fantastic Four came in. It was sweet, man.
Yeah, it was just crazy, all in one movie. All right, so you always
We just
start off by
we just
asking me.
we just messed with somebody. Someone chat like what?
All right, you always start off by asking me
Oh, don't
what
do
were
it.
your overall thoughts.
Don't do it.
So I'm gonna flip the script and I'm gonna ask you what your overall thoughts were on the movie.
See, that's not fair. You got to do that after the movie as well. I will give the same opinion now that I've calmed down as I did to you, like right away, as I did yesterday. It was okay. It was okay. It wasn't necessarily the worst I've seen, but it was okay. That's the best I can give it. The Omega Red cameo was amazing. It absolutely was, Robo.
All right, so here's mine. So I think you and I are pretty much in sync. I think you might hate it a little more than I do. But that being said, at first, because I've seen it twice now, because I saw it the week before we saw it with my wife, because she wanted to see it.
Yeah, to
so
say that
like,
as well. So I'm coming off of, we literally watched this yesterday, but that was my first and only viewing of it. Nitro has seen it twice now, so he's got a slightly different perspective on me from it.
All right, so the first time I saw it, I was like, that was actually a good movie, but as it pertains to the MCU, it was completely irrelevant. Completely irrelevant. It's 5 years too late, in my opinion. It should have come out chronologically when it's set, and I think it would have had much more impact, and it would have had much more impact on the character of Black Widow, and for the events that happen after that. I think the more I sit with the movie, the more I'm like, I actually don't know if it was actually that great of a movie in general, because there were a lot of items with the movie that I had issues with, and not necessarily as it pertains to the MCU as a whole, but just as it pertains to it as that being a movie. So, yeah, again, I think you and I are in sync. I don't really think it was that great of a movie, but as it pertains to the MCU, I think it was honestly irrelevant.
Yeah. I think that was my hardest thing for it, was because if anyone doesn't know, Black Widow is set like right after Civil War. So like after Captain America Civil War, Cap's on the run, Tony's running things, everyone's kind of taken off. This is what happens with Black Widow, like between there. Like you even see at the end of it her getting her blonde hair, that obviously sets up for her coming into Infinity War with the new look and stuff. This is what happened between Civil War and Infinity War.
Yeah.
I think if it had came out as part of Phase 3 during that time, I wouldn't have felt as strongly about it.
Yeah.
In the way that I do, because I feel like it would have been part of that narrative. It would have showed us what's happening with Black Widow. I wouldn't have felt like because this is trying to build up her character. Tom asking how is the writing itself. The writing was it was okay at points. I think I wasn't a fan of like the actual writing in terms of like the script itself wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
There was actually some funny moments. There was moments where we laughed. There was some moments where some
was pretty
stuff
clever.
actually
Some
happened.
of the stuff was pretty clever.
In terms of the storytelling for it, I don't. It was definitely not the best.
My thing
like
is,
my definition of it not being the best comes from what is 100% meant to be the big like twist reveal at the end, and that's the identity of Taskmaster. And they made this such a Marvel screwed themselves over with that because they made it such a big deal. They never announced who was playing Taskmaster. They never announced the actor. They never went into any of that. So they themselves built the hype up for that, for a twist reveal that wasn't a twist reveal.
Yeah.
It was a character that you forgot existed for a minute.
Yeah.
And it's like, in terms of that for the writing, I'm like, not to mention the fact of like, I think they gave themselves an uphill battle with this because you're trying to write for characters to get us to invest in that we are probably not going to see again, at least for a long time.
Yeah. All right, so I think for me, like, the movie's called Black Widow, right? You have movies called Thor, Iron Man, Captain America, and Winter Soldier, and those movies are about those characters. I don't necessarily feel like Black Widow was about Scarlett Johansson's character.
Oh
And
no, absolutely not. Absolutely
maybe that
not.
was on purpose, but like the character growth, there was none. Like the stuff that we learned about Black Widow's character, Scarlett Johansson's character, didn't really push her character arc forward or sideways or anything in any substantial way, in my opinion. I think her character arc from like Infinity War to Endgame was much bigger of an arc, in my opinion, than this movie.
Oh yeah, there was no
In and of
character
itself.
arc at all in this for her. It wasn't her story. It was her sister's story. It was Yelena's story. It's like she was the character
Yeah,
they
agreed.
wanted us to focus on because she's the character that shows that's going to be, spoilers for the end credit scene, but that's the character that appears at the end. You see her standing at the graveside. I can't remember her name, the woman's name, but she's Madam Hydra.
Florence Pugh. It's Florence Pugh.
No, not her. I mean the woman that comes up to her, the one that's in Falcon and Winter
Oh,
Soldier.
Valentina. Something
Valentina,
Valentina.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that's Madam Hydra that they've not revealed as Madam Hydra yet. She comes up to her, clearly shows out that they're working together. So, like, basically taking this whole movie has been a build up for her character to actually be something, and the hint that she's going to be showing up in the Hawkeye show. Has the MCU gotten too
That's a really good.
cute for its own good? You know what I mean? Like, are
That's,
they still respecting the story and the fans?
that's a really good question, Tom. I was actually having a discussion with my wife the other day with like comic book movies. I feel like so obviously comic book movies have to appeal to a very broad audience, right? And I think in my opinion, when a comic book movie focuses too much on a hardcore like comic book fan base, I think they paint themselves into a corner. But as the movie, you obviously have to appeal to both, and I think the movies that do that really well are the best ones, like Captain America: Winter Soldier. They appeal to that hardcore comic base, but they also appeal to the broader movie fan community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the MCU has done an amazing job of reinventing things. Like, there's things that are clearly hints towards the comics, but they've had to reinvent certain characters and reinvent certain stories. And even the reveal of who Taskmaster is, I'm not completely against that character being Taskmaster. I'm not completely against him reinventing the character in the way that they did and doing it. My problem with the character was, like, and we'll get into this later, was they literally did nothing with Taskmaster. You could have replaced Taskmaster with anybody.
The Taskmaster is known to be the best fighter in Marvel Comics.
Yeah, like,
And
can
they
literally go
didn't
toe to toe
really
with
fight.
anyone.
They didn't really fight.
She was
Oh man.
she was in three
Yeah.
scenes.
Spoilers. Taskmaster is a she, which again, I am okay with.
Called it.
But just the way that they did it.
Called it for the first trailer. Called it for before there was a trailer.
Yeah.
When they said Taskmaster was going to be in it. Don't get me wrong, I got it wrong who it was going to be. In my head, I thought it was going to turn out either her sister or her mother was going to be Taskmaster. It was going to be one of them that was Taskmaster. That was my call.
I thought it was going to be Rachel Weisz, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
Real quick, so Logical Robot said, I'm not a fan of the overly forced comedic approach. Some of the action scenes in this would have been actually pretty good, but the pacing ruined it. They're now falling into subversion train too. It's silly. So, Logical, I would agree with you as far as the overly forced comedic approach. I know a lot of people are huge fans of like Ragnarok, that type of stuff, that type of movie. I'm not a huge fan of that much comedy forced into something that thematically should be much more somber and much more like quote unquote dark and gritty per se. But yeah.
I think that's the thing. I think with comedy in the Marvel movies, I think that's one of the big issues that people have. And some of the movies do deserve it. Some of the stuff have. Like Ragnarok, you can get away with it, I think. That's the style that they're kind of going for and the way that they're taking Thor. And stuff like Guardians of the Galaxy, you can get away with more comedic elements.
Yeah, I agree with
Black
that.
Widow is definitely meant to be more of a serious thing.
Well,
But
and
I
that
think
being
you could
said,
have...
I don't think it was too much in Black Widow at all.
I don't think it was in Black Widow either, but I think you could have balanced it even more. I think what made it more maybe noticeable for some people was the fact that the action scenes weren't as intense. Like we talked about the fact of like the stuff with Taskmaster, like you have the potential to do so much with that, and they didn't do anything with the Taskmaster fights.
No.
You know what I mean? It's like just something simple like that. I'm like that.
One thing that I'm seeing a lot of, and I might be alone in this, and I'm totally okay with it. I'm seeing a theme of turning men into like buffoons, like really like physically appearing strong men into buffoons. at the expense of elevating a female character. And I'm cool, obviously, elevating female characters. Like, this movie is about a strong female lead, and I was pumped to see it. But like, I'm just thinking about what they did with David Harbour's character.
Oh, with
the
Red Guardian, yeah.
Like, they made him into an absolute moron in the movie. Like, I mean, pretty much. I mean, that might be oversimplifying it a bit, but like, he couldn't really do anything. Like, he was like impotent, like, the whole movie. So,
Like,
I don't know. I don't know.
Because that's the
Maybe I'm
thing.
just
I guess
reaching.
portraying him as kind of idiotic was one thing, and I guess that's like, because we're trying to get across the fact of like he was clearly a bad father to them, even though
Yeah.
he isn't their dad, and it's like he was clearly only fixed on like his glory, and he was Red Guardian, and he was the super soldier. My problem is that you literally got a down and out fight between Red Guardian and Taskmaster near the end of the movie, and Taskmaster is kicking his ass so much.
Yeah. Dude,
And I'm like,
he's a super
you're
soldier.
a super soldier.
Oh yeah, by the way, spoiler: Red Guardian is part of the Super Soldier program from the Russian end.
It's like,
So.
throw a punch.
Yeah.
You're getting your butt whipped. I said it to you. Like, Taskmaster's meant to be this character that can do like all these different fighting styles. How cool would it
Yeah.
have been to see doing all the flips and kicks and all the different all over the place stuff with Black Widow, and then go to face with Guardian and literally having an out and out brawl
Well,
between
you
these
said
two
it.
characters, like just smashing the place up, throwing each other around, and I'm like, make it even. It's not watching him get his ass kicked is not enjoyable.
Well, you said it after the movie. Like, it's obviously Taskmaster is known to be one of the best fighters in the MCU. He studies his opponents and he mimics their fighting style. They didn't really show that at all in the movie. They showed, like, they hinted maybe at it that he can do that, or she can do that rather. But that's his shtick in the comics.
That's the whole
what he
thing.
does.
That's the purpose of the character.
And like, they didn't even like, they didn't overtly show that at all. That was disappointing.
Yeah, 100%. And all right, we're kind of getting into these sort of topics. Let's get into the
heated.
actual. Let's get into the start of the movie. Let's get into the setup of this. Let's delve in. So, like, this obviously kicks off with Natasha. She's now on the run and stuff. We got the whole Civil War ending. You know, it's like where everyone's on the run. We got an appearance from General Ross in this, which was interesting. William Hurt reprising his role as General Thaddeus Ross, who's hunting her. And then she gets approached. I'm trying to throw my head back here. How she gets connected in with them again. I'm completely drawing a blank. How she gets connected with her family again.
So
It's the dude with the stuff in Budapest. Yeah, she goes on the run. She goes to find her cabin. Sorry, I had to think there. A lot happened between that. So she goes to this remote cabin with this dude who is like apparently a go-to guy to like get stuff for her. He's basically a gopher. If you need something, he can get it.
kind of a love interest, maybe.
They were
It's not very clearly defined.
They were heavily hinting that there was a little something going on between them, and I'm like, okay, she's got random romantic.
Such a random dude that just showed up. No context, nothing.
No God, I don't even know what his name is. I don't even remember if he got his name during the movie.
Where did he come from? Does it matter?
But they were
We don't know.
hinting at a little flirting between them and stuff, and I'm like, thank you for introducing this romance that I've got no investment in because he never shows up again.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's doing that, and he also drops off stuff at the house for her that he cleared out, the Budapest safe house, which this has got a big hint back to the Budapest line from Avengers. Oh yeah, Budapest or Budapest. From Avengers, which I love the fact it was like a throwaway line between Black Widow and Hawkeye that everybody went on, what happened to Budapest? And I'm like, they probably had a mission, they're secret agents. I'm like, is that really that
They're
big
not
of a
going to
question?
tell you.
It's like, but apparently that was a big thing, and like the safe house was cleared out for someone else who we'll find out later is her sister, but she gets all of that stuff. While this is going on, we also find out, we also run with her sister, who is out and doing a mission and then gets sprayed with stuff. We don't know what it is.
We forgot to do the opening though, the actual opening of the movie.
Oh yeah, the opening.
Set in the
actual,
90s.
Yeah, the actual
Yeah.
like flashback opening. Yeah,
Yeah.
you go for it. You started it. You can
All
go
right.
for it.
All right. Cool. So the film opens in Ohio, 1995, and the two girls playing, who you soon find out are Yelena and Scarlett Johansson's character.
I think that's the character name
Natasha.
I love that Natasha's the name that you couldn't remember for the character.
I know. I was like,
the one who's been around since Iron Man 2, but Yelena, you remembered.
So as kids, it's 1995. They're just kind of playing in their yard. They start to have dinner with their mom, Rachel Weisz's character, and then David Harbour comes in. You know something immediately is wrong, and he pulls basically Rachel Weisz's character aside and says, "We have about 1 hour." So you again soon find out though they are actually Russian spies embedded, trying to get secrets from a then Shield facility, but we later find out obviously it's Hydra, but it's Shield like mind control type stuff from a Shield facility. So there's this really cool action sequence where they go to this like abandoned hangar. They get a little Cessna plane and they're trying to escape, and these old like 90s Bronco Shield trucks are chasing them. You see David Harbour flip over a huge dumpster. So obviously it's heavily implied that he's part of a super soldier program. They finally get away, land in Cuba, and the girls are separated from David Harbour and Rachel Weisz's character, and it's implied that they are inducted into the Black Widow training program. And it kind of there's like really quick snippets and montages of the Black Widow training program, how they try to what is it? Do stuff with your mind and make you brainwash. That's the word I'm looking for. How they brainwash them from a very early age, teach them, ballet and how to do firearms and American culture and all that stuff. And then it's just this huge montage of Black Widows over the years, embedded in high profile incidents across the globe. And that's when we come into where we left off with Cross. Sorry, I totally forgot that part.
Yeah, no worries. No, I completely forgot as well. We had that flashback scene to it, which I can't believe I forgot that in introduction because like that's what everything hinges on with this family unit that were like together for 3 years. You find out.
Yeah,
But yeah, then we come in with Black Widow, and she's doing her thing, hiding away from everything at the time. We even had the whole sting operation. Like General Ross has got a whole sting operation to try and catch her and stuff, and it turns out she's nowhere near where her tracker was. Like they invade this building and try to find her, and she's actually on a boat, like somewhere completely different, on the phone to him and tosses it. Goes completely off grid. While she does that, we then go in with Yelena, who is now grown up as well and is still a member of the Black Widow group. She is on a mission, and while on this mission, she ends up getting sprayed. Because it's like at first it's heavily hinted at, it could be one way or the other. We're not quite sure at first. Initially, has she been sprayed with this stuff, and is it the mind control stuff they were talking about? Like, you see it like taking over her eyes, and her eyes flaring red, and it's very heavily hinted at she's getting like a mind control thing put over her. So like, is she going to be like a main antagonist for this for a little bit? But then it's like, as you find out that actually she's sprayed with the antidote. There's an antidote for this mind control. And as she's sprayed with this, she takes off. She doesn't report in with the other widows, and she takes off and goes on the run herself as well. And we later find out fairly quickly that the Budapest safe house was cleared out for her to take over it, and her to stay in that safe house where Natasha had all her stuff set up. Sorry, catching up with chat. People's chat. We're still to see Ross. Hulk movie is so forgotten. It is a forgotten movie, but like Ross has been like one of the amazing things. Ross has been the one that came back of all those things.
Yeah.
I had issues with how the entire Red Room premise was boiled down to mass-marketed mind control.
Yeah.
It deleted Natasha's own backstory for me. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about like the whole mind control aspect being like they were always mind controlled.
Yeah.
I always liked the idea of it being like a indoctrination. Like, you get trained and indoctrinated into something from a young age, but they didn't say it in this, but they very heavily insinuated that the mind control was a big part of it.
So I think, like, I know when Yelena and Natasha were at that table and they were having beers and they were talking about the Red Room and stuff like that. So there were two approaches that the Black Widow program had taken. With Natasha's group, they took the more of a brainwash type indoctrination type thing. but with Yelena's group, it was actual like mind control.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the two avenues that I think were kind of like talked through in the movie.
Oh, was it? I'm
Yeah.
totally messed up bit of dialogue then, but like,
Yeah, because there was a big part with Rachel Weisz's character, how she was talking to Natasha. Like, how did you keep going through that and keep your your moral compass is the way that I'm going to put it, but she said your heart. But yeah, like she was still in control of her actions, but she was obviously indoctrinated.
yeah. And take care, Tom. Have a good one. Thank you so much for stopping by, sir. Appreciate it. But yeah, it's heavily. So we then find out that obviously Yelena's been broken free of her mind control side of things. Mm-hmm. Natasha then goes to take off. Like she's at her house. She's watching a movie or something like that. I can't remember what she was watching, but her generator goes out at the cabin she's in, or the little place she's at. She can't get it running again, so she then takes the car into town because she has to go and get gas for it to get the generator running. And it's a good fair bit away, so she's driving through the dark road. You can see the town off in the distance, and then she gets to one turn, goes to turn around this corner, and gets blown up. Mm-hmm. This missile comes out of nowhere, launches the car. She's almost going off the side of this bridge, and we get our first look at Taskmaster. Mm-hmm. Taking it on. Although we do get introduced to Taskmaster before that, which they kind of heavily hint at, like at first, legitimately at first, like even going into this, I was fairly aware this was going to be a woman under the mask. Mm-hmm. At first, it seemed to hint at it might actually just be an android or a cyborg or something.
Yeah,
because
the way that they plugged her in.
Yeah, because like Taskmaster's sitting there in full gear watching like the fights taking place from Civil War, and they put a chip in the back of her, and it's like there was a moment I kind of thought, is this a robot?
Yeah. Is
this going to be a robot? It's like, wow, if that is, no wonder everybody's mad.
That would have been worse.
That would have been the one thing they could have done a bit worse.
Yeah.
But we get to see Taskmaster out in the field. She blasts Natasha.
I don't know if this is controversial, but I'll say I think that fight with Black Widow at the beginning, or towards the beginning of the movie, I think is probably the best action sequence with Taskmaster.
Oh yeah, 100%. I would agree. Especially since like Taskmaster only has 3 actual fight scenes, and 2 of them being with Black Widow.
Yeah.
One of them is meant to be the climactic fight. This is the better fight.
This
is the better fight between the 2 of them, and it's not long, it's not lengthy, it's not like.
But this is where they hint at he can memorize your style, or she can. I keep saying he. When I say he, I'm just talking about Taskmaster from the comics. They can memorize your style and fight. So you see Taskmaster do this famous Natasha spin around the neck with the legs and throw
like the head scissors thing.
You see that. And they land the same way. They do the pose. So
yeah, they actually land they land like face to face, pretty much doing that pose and stuff. And like, so you get the hint that she's observed Natasha's move. She's seen her fighting style. She knows what she's capable of. And then she does something that launches Natasha out the road, and then we find out that it's not Natasha that she's after. It's actually something that's in the car. It's something that she's trying to get a hold of. So Natasha, of course, is like, I need to stop her getting this thing. They end up in a fight back and forth, and it quickly ends and Natasha's launched off the bridge. Taskmaster gets the box but finds that it's empty. Natasha has taken what was inside, what they were after, and is now gone because it floated down the river. So that was our first introduction to Taskmaster. Yeah, it goes downhill from here.
We actually had this conversation, Logical Robot, Cross and I, yesterday. The Taskmaster in the Spider-Man game is just universes better than the one they actually had in this movie.
The one in the Spider-Man game, it's like, hell, the first 5 minutes of the Avengers game, you fight Taskmaster, and it's better done than this. It's just.
It's like, even in the Spider-Man game, like you fight him several times, but every time you fight him, he's learned a new technique based off of the last fight, like that he can use on you now. And so they show that progression. They show nothing of the sort in this movie.
No, nothing like that. No. When she goes to fight Red Guardian, she does the pose from Black Panther.
Oh yeah,
because she was watching Civil War. Does nothing for the actual fight, but they do it.
She doesn't use them.
She does Black Panther's opening pose, which is like, okay.
Got it.
All right. So do you want to take over from here then? After that fight, you can take over the next bit.
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember what happened next. So, dude, I just spaced. What did happen? So she goes to she gets to the shore. She obviously has the vials with her. Scarlett Johansson's character has the vials with her.
Yeah.
So she escaped the fight, with Taskmaster with the vials, and she pulls out a picture that was actually stuffed in the middle of the vials, and it's a picture from when her and her sister were kids that they took in like a little photo booth. So obviously her sister was the one who sent her the vials for safekeeping. So Natasha goes to Budapest,
Budapest.
and goes to the safe house, and her sister meet for the first time in like 20 years. They kind of get into this little tiff, little fight. Pretty aggressive for kind of like a, hey, I haven't seen you in 20 years. How's it going?
Safe to say, it's probably one of the better fights of the movie.
It really is. The whole Black Widow program basically converges on the safe house. So, Yelena and Natasha are running away. One of the Black Widows kind of falls, and Natasha tries to save her, and she can see that the Black Widow is being mind controlled into killing herself. I'm trying to remember what I'm trying to remember. Do you remember what happens after that? I'm spacing on this.
They meet up.
So after the fight with the Black Widows, where do they go? Oh, they go to the subway. All right, so they go to the subway in Budapest, and they're trying to escape. They kind of do like a little callback to the Hawkeye and Natasha when they were talking about Budapest and all that stuff. And this is where they hid for like 10 days after. So they kind of fool Taskmaster into believing that they went one way when they went another way. And then it kind of goes on to talk about how they ended up in Budapest in the past in the first place. And you see kind of some flashbacks, I believe, at this time, where when Natasha, when she was working with the Black Widow program and she was trying to get out, S.H.I.E.L.D. had a mission for her where she had to destroy the leader of the Red Room program, which his name was Dimitri, I believe, played by Ray Winstone, for those of you who know him. And so in order to do that, though, she had to confirm that he was in his apartment or in his home, and the only way to do that was to have his daughter go in there. So once his daughter goes in there, the whole building explodes. Yeah. So obviously, Natasha always talks about red on her ledger and all that stuff, and I think this is the one pivotal moment that she's probably always thinking about. It was a little 10-year-old girl that she had to, like, she calls her collateral damage when she's hiding from Taskmaster, and she's talking to Yelena about it. So they're talking. They kind of have they get in their car. There's a really, really funny bit about Yelena. She's like, I'm finally out of the program. I got to pick my own clothes, and she has this
the
vest on.
The vest.
She has this like tactical vest on, which is the vest that Scarlett Johansson's character wears in Endgame, I believe. That greenish vest. And she's talking about how it has all these pockets, and it's a really hilarious bit. So they stop at this kind of like roadside stop, and they're kind of chatting over some food and some beers, and they basically come to the decision that we have to find Dimitri, who's the leader of the Red Room, who set up the whole Black Widow program, and we have to destroy the Red Room. In order to do that, though, they need to figure out where the Red Room is, and they think that the only person that knows where the Red Room is David Harbour's character, the Red Guardian, who has now been imprisoned, I think, in Siberia by the Dimitri character. So there's this whole sequence of them breaking the Red Guardian out of prison. Yeah. David Harbour, I will say, he is probably one of my favorite parts of this movie. He plays, even though they play him as a buffoon, he is hilarious in this movie.
It kind of works for his character, though. I will say that, like, Dreykov, like, pretty much when he got back there, Dreykov put him in prison, like, almost right away. He'd promised him all these things of being back to glory. You're no longer going to be undercover. You're going to be back to being the Red Guardian. And basically then stuck him in prison. And it's like he was clearly chosen as a buffoon because he was clearly meant to be their Captain America, but one that could be controlled by someone. He was clearly meant for that choice. And you see him and it's so funny because you see him like telling war stories and stuff like that, and going head to head with Captain America, and try to build himself up as his equal. And then like one of the big dudes comes over, he's doing like arm wrestling and stuff and toppling people, and one of the dudes says to him, Captain America was still on ice when around about this time you were talking. Like, how could that have
right?
happened? It's like, are you
And
calling me a liar?
He promptly breaks the guy's wrist.
Yeah, it's like he snaps the guy like. So that's
But
the guy. I don't know.
Logical Robot in the chat, he said, to give the movie its due, the actual family aspect I was completely sold on. Bad accents aside, they were most involved scenes. Not the action or Natasha and Yelena being made of adamantium. I agree 100%, Logical Robot. I think that's one of the things that stuck with me the most in the movie. I wrote some notes and I said, I think the good emotional connections throughout the film, and there was a strong sense of family. I thought that was a really good part of the film. Like there's this part, obviously Yelena is younger than Scarlett's character, Natasha. So that family unit that was kind of hobbled together from the Soviet Union to kind of portray a family unit in America, none of them were family, were actually family. They were all just random people that were stuck together to kind of give a portrayal as family. But to Yelena's character, that was her family because that's who she grew up with.
Yeah.
So there's this recurring theme from Yelena, like basically it was real to me, it was real to me, and everybody's like, dude, it wasn't real, it wasn't real. And like by the end of the movie, the movie honestly is just about family, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a funny thing as well.
What makes family?
I think it's a funny thing, like you especially see it when they do the meal like later on, and we're jumping a little bit ahead to the meal scene when the four of them are at the table. Is basically since they've only ever been together for those 3 years in Ohio. And then they were separated and stuff. Like the girls were sent to the Black Widow program. Like Red Guardian went to prison, even though he was meant to be getting his glory days back. The girls think their mom is dead. Only what later on do they find out? No, she's actually still alive and she's still been working.
Yeah.
But like Natasha's desperately trying to convince herself, look, this was all fake. It was all cobbled together, and then we were thrown into the Black Widow program.
Yeah.
But the other three all react like it's real.
Yeah.
Like for Yelena, she was young enough that it felt real, and even Red Guardian and Iron Maiden, the two of them act like this was real. This was like a real relationship. Even the kind of like a kind of love, respect they have for each other. Yeah. Not like desperately romantic love, like they're all over each other or anything, but like there's a definite liking to each other there, and definite coming to terms with, like, you see Red Guardian trying to come to terms with being a bad father. Like he goes through that arc of a father who thinks he did a good job and realizing he actually did a crappy job with his kids.
Well, yeah,
and
no,
stuff.
I think the thing with David Harbour's character is he does come across as just like just a bad person. Honestly, not a bad person as it pertains to being a bad dad, I guess. But like you realize, so a lot. This movie tries to do a lot of like continuity things throughout the movie that I think don't land. Like there's a Firefly obsession with this movie that I don't know. There's no context given as to why that this is a big deal, other than her mom talks about fireflies at the beginning, and they try to show it throughout the movie. And there's this weird thing that Yelena and Natasha do with the whistle that, again, no context is given. It's just some random weird thing that they do throughout the movie.
Oh, no, that's the best part. The whistle isn't a weird thing they do throughout the movie. It's a whistle. They only do it at the end.
Well, no, they did it. I think they did it at the beginning of the movie when Natasha's trying to find Yelena.
Did
they did it when they were at the playground. Yeah, it's just...
I don't even remember it for that scene. Like, legitimately, I don't even remember that scene. I don't remember the whistle being anywhere apart from at the very end. And I was like... And I literally watched it and I was like, is that meant to be a thing? Did we set that up as a thing? I don't even remember if we did.
And I'm not saying everything deserves a huge just context dump, but, some things need it. But one thing that I think really, really landed, at least for me... So they're in the truck, and one of Yelena's favorite songs is Bye Bye Miss American Pie. Drove the Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. So she's singing that in the car. They're playing it in the car on the way to the jet, the Cessna from the beginning of the movie. And so flash forward, so they're breaking Red Guard. That's an important point. I don't want to just leave that hanging. That's an important point. So flash forward, they're breaking Red Guardian out of prison. There's this huge Siberian Russian prison escape scene with an avalanche. I think it's probably one of the better action scenes in the movie, in my opinion. It's just it's funny, it's clever, it's dramatic.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
It's really well done. I do like that scene.
Yeah. So they finally get him out. He's in the copter, and he's talking to him, and he kind of tries to pick up where he left off, like nothing happened.
Yeah, he acts like he just like they just landed like yesterday.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, what does he say?" Well, he asked, "All right." He asked, like, because Yelena's super upset, and he's like, "Why are you so aggressive?" He's like, is it your time of the month or something like that?" And she goes, "No.
Oh yeah, I
As
forgot
part
about
of
that
the
scene.
Red Room program, they rip out your uterus and your ovaries. They just go up in there and take it out." And the way that she's talking about it, she's getting super
And
graphic.
she goes
And he's
into
like,
this
"Okay,
like
all
deep
right."
and deep into this, and you just see his face like, no, okay, okay, okay.
I mean, it's not that is not funny, but the way that it's portrayed in that scene is hilarious. So basically, he tries to re-engage them as a dad figure, and they're like, "No, not having it." So they're kind of trying to ask him where this Dimitri dude is, where the Red Room is, and he's like, "I have no clue. I haven't talked to Dimitri in 20 years. He put me in prison. I don't like the guy. I have no clue." He's like, "But somebody that would know is your mom." And they're like, "What? Your mom's still alive or whatever?" And this is Rachel Weisz's character. And he's like, "Yeah, she lives outside of a city in Russia. Forgot what the city was. It doesn't matter." Anyway, so they go see her. She's living in this remote farm, and she is experimenting on mind control on pigs with this little app that she's doing. So she sees them as there's a perimeter breach on the app. She sees them. She pulls out this freaking huge sniper rifle, scopes them out. They finally show up, and it's really awkward. She doesn't say anything to the kids. She knows exactly who they are. She just turns around and walks into the house, and they follow her. She puts the gun away. What they don't tell you at that scene is she's actually alerting the Red Room that Natasha, Yelena, and David Harbour's character are there. There's this really cool scene where they're all at the dinner table, and again, it's this family theme where these people who are not really a family are participating in this family dinner, talking about the good old times like they were real. There's a lot of reminiscence of back when they were in Ohio. So one of the again another like family like type emotional scene that kind of stuck with me from it is when they were leaving, when they're having to rush out of the home in Ohio from the start of the movie. Natasha tries to grab the photo album, even though all the photos in the album were staged, just to again portray that family like life. She wanted to get it because she wanted to remind herself of what she was leaving, and Rachel Weisz's character was like, "No, leave it. We don't have time." But then Natasha sees that photo album in Rachel Weisz's house on a shelf. So it's hinted at that Rachel's wife or Rachel Weisz's character. This unit was more than just a job for her. This was actually a family for her, even though she didn't want to admit it.
Yeah.
And the same with David Harbour's character. This was really a family, even though he kind of deep dives into that a little bit more because he calls them his daughters and he calls Rachel Weisz's character his wife. There's a lot of like sexual tension between Rachel Weisz's character and David Harbour. Some really really funny moments at the dinner table.
Can I
But
just
one of
say
the
before they sit down at the table as well, the red Guardian costume,
yes, yes.
and he tries to
All right,
get he tries to
so
get
all
his
the girls are
big ass back
sorry.
into this red Guardian costume that he's not wore for like 20, 30 years.
So all the ladies are at the table and it's just this awkward silence and you hear David Harbour character in the bathroom just grunting. And then it cuts to him from the back like he's trying to get the costume over his love handles. And he finally comes out of the room and he's wearing his full Red Guardian costume
Leans
and he
like a
goes,
saw. Still
it still
fits.
fits.
Still fits.
Oh man, it's so good. So they have this conversation and
It was robot. The dad bod was legit.
dude, it was, man. So they have this really big conversation, and basically it comes down to Rachel Weisz's character saying, "Our family wasn't real. You need to kind of get over it," and that kind of breaks Yelena's character. So she grabs a bottle of vodka, leaves the table, goes in her room, slams the door, and David Harbour's character, he's like, "I got this." So he walks in there and they kind of have a kind of back and forth, and it gets to the point where they just stop talking, and then he starts singing that "Bye Bye Miss American Pie" song in a really heavy Russian accent. It's really funny, but the two of them share that emotional connection. I thought that was an awesome part of this movie. I thought that's what the movie as a whole was trying to do. I feel like it missed in a lot of spots, but I feel like
Yeah.
in that one aspect it really hit.
the family element was definitely the strongest part of it. Like you got across like, because they kept constantly saying throughout it like, oh, we were only together for 3 years, and it's like part of me kind of wishes they didn't mention it as much.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like they were together for 3 years for this mission, and then have spent the last like 30 years not anywhere near each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, don't focus on that. Don't focus on the fact that like they were split up for that long. Let's focus on the unit coming together. Like hell, even make it like they are family, or that they're connected somehow in a deeper way or something. You know?
Yeah.
It's
like
that was definitely the highlight of it for me.
And can I just say, like, I feel like Florence Pugh did an amazing job. I know somebody said it. I think it was Logical Robot said in the chat, but
yeah,
she just crushed it.
Massive shout out
awesome.
to her.
Yeah.
Especially like
I can't wait to see more of her. Which again we will attend it at the end of the movie, which we'll get to.
Especially like, you know, just calling her out as having to come in and play this family connection to a well-established MCU character.
Mm-hmm.
And the only one that we're guaranteed that we're going to be seeing more of going forward. And I'm like, I think she's solidly integrated herself as someone to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, like I'm looking forward to seeing how she interacts with the rest of the MCU and seeing more of her story. I think she's a great actress, great choice for the role of Yelena, and I'm excited. Like, it's hinted she's going to be showing up in the Hawkeye show at the end of the year, so we'll hopefully get her again before the end of 2021, which I'm all for. I'm all for more of her.
All right, so you had the conversation with David Harbour's character and Yelena's character in the bedroom. They're kind of bonding and connecting as a father and a daughter, and then you have Rachel Weisz's character and Natasha in the dining room, kind of talking across the table from each other. And I think at some point during that conversation, Rachel Weisz's character, like, it's like a revelation to her that like this was an actual family, like, and she realized that she's messed up with calling the Red Room and calling Dimitri, and so she basically says, "I'm sorry, I've already alerted the Red Room." So stuff starts moving really fast paced. Then a bunch of airships show up and shine lights on the house. A really funny scene with Red Guardian where he's standing in front of the lighted window, and a tranq dart hits him in the chest, and he's about to say, "You think a tranq dart can stop me?" And then about like 20 more hit his chest, and then he just falls flat on the floor. It's hilarious.
Love it.
But one of the parts where Natasha and Rachel Weisz's character are kind of talking, and she's getting her ready for what's about to happen. They don't show this at the time, so it's kind of like a flashback, but just chronologically.
We can get to it now because we're doing spoilers anyway. But this reveal comes much later.
Yeah, so during that time of the hustle and bustle before Natasha and Yelena are taken and Red Guardian is taken out to the Red Room, Rachel Weisz's character and Natasha switch faces. So the same technology that we see in, what is the movie?
And Natasha, Natasha uses it in Winter Soldier, like to be one of the World Council. Yeah,
so basically, Rachel Weisz's character gives her the lowdown of what's going to happen. He's like, they're going to take you to Dimitri. Dimitri, again, the leader of the Red Room. He's the one who established the Red Room. He has this thing. It's like a pheromone lock with all of the Black Widows, regardless of how they were brought up, whether it's the complete mind control or the indoctrination, to where when they get close to him, if they smell his pheromones, they can't harm him. They can't shoot him. They can't stab him. They can't punch him. They can't do anything. So Rachel's character is telling Natasha this, and she said, in order to get past that, you're going to have to sever your nerve. Your smelling nerve is not the scientific name for it, but it's a nerve in the bridge of your nose that you have to sever. And so they switch costumes, they switch faces. So David's character, Red Guardian, wakes up on the plane on the way to the Red Room, which, can I say, the Red Room is this just gigantic floating fortress that has been there apparently for 20 years and nobody has seen it, and it's covered in like a cloud and not really that great. Can I say that? I don't know how plausible that would have been. I think it's pretty implausible.
Yeah, I'm like, I was not a fan of the reveal of like it's a floating fortress, and I'm like, really, we're redoing the shield helicarrier? Just we're making it vertical instead of horizontal. Like, really, that's the difference.
It's so bad.
I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Okay,
all right. Do you want to pick up from the Red Room?
Yeah, I'll pick up from the Red
Alright,
Room
cool.
stuff then. So they head to the Red Room. So, like you said, David Harbour's character, Red Guardian, wakes up on the plane a little bit. He sees that I forgot Rachel Weisz's character name, but yeah, Rachel Weisz's character is like
Yeah.
is flying the plane, so she's the one that's basically called them, so he knows like, oh, she called them and stuff like that, and he gets knocked out again. He then awakens in a prison cell next to Natasha. It's
Melina is her name.
Melina, that's it, Melina. I could not
call her Melina. I keep saying Rachel Weisz over and over and over. It's getting a little bit tedious.
Yeah, because remember he's Red Guardian Alexei, but I could not remember her name, Melina. So Red Guardian wakes up in his cell next to one Natasha's in. That he thinks it's Natasha, doesn't realise it's actually Melina at the time because of swap places. And I love the fact he goes into this whole big rant about all the stuff for the family, how horrible he was,
such a bad father,
and all this stuff about he realizes he made a mistake with everything that he did and all this stuff, and he ends up like completely like sobbing his heart out up against the glass, like smushed up against his face, and then the door opens, and you see the shock, and he comes out like, how did you do that? And she's like, well, because I built it, and takes the mask off, and it's Melina. So while they're down in the prison, we also see the... I'm completely blanking on names here. I said them, Yelena.
Melina.
Yeah, I think that's why I'm getting mixed up with it. Melina and Yelena are like so close to each other. I'm like, I'm thinking, am I remembering the right name? Yelena is tied up and basically about to have surgery performed on her.
Mm-hmm.
To get her back under mind control, essentially. But it turns out she's actually got an earpiece in that they managed to get in her ear that Melina's with, which again leads to actually a pretty funny scene of Alexei doing the same rant that he just did to Natasha. Again to Natasha. Even though
he did do it to Natasha.
He did it to Natasha again, who's not who Melina's talking to, who isn't on the comm system, and then she had to like stop him like midway through. You don't have a comm. I don't have
it's
a
like,
comm.
I don't have earpiece.
Why don't I have earpiece? And it's like, but she's in there, and basically, Melina tells her we slipped a blade into your like holster on your leg. You can pull it out of there, get yourself free, and get out of there. While they're all doing that, who they think is Melina goes in to see Dreykov at the head of the Red Room to basically try and shut it all down, and he basically realizes that it's Natasha though. He talks about like looking into his children's eyes and being able to realize who they are and stuff, hinting at like this connection he's got to the Black Widows. So it's revealed fairly quickly that it's Natasha. And again, we get the reveal as well of like the pheromones, and like so she can't actually do anything to him. Although she does start to bait him to start attacking her. What she does, smacks her a good few times. And the whole purpose was, like you talked about, was the nerve that it's connected to, trying to get him to separate that, and he couldn't fully get it, so she just ended up smashing her face on the desk.
And part of the beatdown that she was trying to instigate was she was trying to see how he unlocked his basically control panel with access to
she's trying to see, because he reveals that he's got access to these Black Widows that are sleeper agents, not necessarily sleeper agents, but they're all around the world in similar sort of training camps, that he's got control over all of them, because it's kind of like he's realised, like with the indoctrination stuff doesn't work, all these new Black Widows are now under the mind control. And of course she's wanting to find out how he does that so that she can release them all. We've got chat. Right. This is the point of contention the movie bores that he could have escaped any time he wished.
He's talking about Alexei from prison. I agree. Like I don't.
Oh yeah. So
unless he wanted to be there, like he felt like he needed to be
it's
there.
Like I'm trapped in here. You're a super soldier. Start acting like it.
It's like when Superman in Zack Snyder's Superman has some handcuffs on. Like, he could have obviously broken out.
Hey, thank you so much, Remix1000. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the Comic Clan. Appreciate the lurk from a fellow Clan Beardly member. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Can you take care, friend? But yeah, so like So Natasha managed to separate that, and then we get the Taskmaster reveal comes, because that's a special bodyguard who he brings in, and Taskmaster comes in, and we remove the helmet. And I even said it to you like yesterday, like he took the helmet off, and I literally had the response, and who the hell's that?
Yeah.
It literally took me a minute to realise, oh, it's Dracov's daughter. You know that daughter that was mentioned in one flashback that Natasha killed trying to get him?
The one with no character development other than that she died?
Yeah, it's like her face is all messed up. And now he has to put a chip in the back of her head to help her like function. But it's also now given her this ability to like copy people. Because that's a thing.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, I know it's comic books and people pick up abilities for weird places, but I'm like,
yeah.
It was literally like how does she learn how to start copying people? Magic.
Just trust us. Just trust us.
It's like, it's magic, ooh. You know, it's like, it was literally like that, like, it just did.
Logical said in the chat, I would like to reiterate that not only was Taskmaster completely done dirty, but the actress who was revealed, Olga Kurylenko, was also. She's a great actor, and I did enjoy the Deadpool-esque. I did not enjoy the Deadpool-esque mute treatment one bit. Disrespectful all around.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And that, I want to make that clear right now. My issues with Taskmaster have nothing to do with the actress that portrays him, or portrays her. Shut up, Cross. I've got no issues with the actor, with Olga Kurylenko, if I'm saying it correctly. I have no issues with her at all in her portrayal. I have no issues with Taskmaster being a woman. I have no issues with a strong female antagonist to face off against Black Widow. I do not have a problem with that. I even said it to you. I don't care. It's the MCU. We have changed plenty of villains. We have changed plenty of backstories. I mean, heck, the most popular character in the whole MCU is Iron Man, and I guarantee you Iron Man, and if you read Iron Man comics in 2007, early 2008, he was not like Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
They have made changes to characters. It's a thing. Right. I do not care about that, but she was not given an opportunity to be anything. You could have literally taken Taskmaster out and replaced her with anyone.
It's like they were flipping through the comics and be like, man, we really need a villain. Who looks really cool? Oh, this person looks cool. Let's completely change everything that makes this character, and put them in the movie.
And even the thing with that as well, like even with Taskmaster, like the look, I don't mind the look. The suit that they wore, the helmet, the stuff like that, I do not mind it. I think it was an interesting update to it. I quite liked it. But she's meant to be a fighter.
Yeah.
She's meant to fight. She doesn't fight, and then there's this reveal, and do you know what the worst thing about it is? That the only character trait that they give her is that she's working with her dad because she's got this grudge against Natasha and what was done to her. And then they take away the one piece of character they give her. Because it turns out she was under mind control, and she's given the antidote at the very end. The one thing was like that she was pissed off that her life was taken away so young, and she's now been turned into this merciless killing machine. It's like, and then they take that away.
Yeah.
And it's like, legitimately, what was the point?
There was no point to that villain.
It's like, you've taken one of the most popular, one of the most badass villains in Marvel Comics, and turned them into nothing. You did nothing with them.
Nothing.
I really hope the actress gets to come back and portray Taskmaster again, because I really hope she gets another opportunity to do it right.
I mean, Taskmaster aside, as a villain, this villain added nothing to the movie. Like, not necessarily as Taskmaster. I'm just saying, as in general.
None of the villains added anything.
Yeah.
The villain was like, it was like watching Captain America and going, who's the villain? Hydra.
Yeah.
I'm like, who's the villain? The Red Room. It's like,
yeah, really.
It's like, yeah, but at least in Captain America Winter Soldier, there was legitimate villains to face.
Yeah.
There was the guy that was the head of S.H.I.E.L.D., I can't remember his name, but Robert Redford's character. There was Crossbones character, Frank Grillo. There was a Winter Soldier for part of it, even though Bucky becomes a good guy. There was legitimate people to be villains.
Yeah.
Legitimate villains. And this is like, no, you got Dreykov who runs everything. Like, okay. We got a bit of a face off, and then it's like, he eventually gets, killed later, and it's like, okay. Taskmaster did nothing, and there was legitimately no one else.
No.
Everyone else was just a faceless person.
Literally, the villain was this huge floating fortress, the Red Room.
Even the Black Widows that they save from the Red Room did not have a personality or characters or anything. They did. It was just like this is the end goal we have to get to. It's like, and I'd like to point out the end goal they had to get to was to stop this and to end the Red Room.
Yeah.
Until this movie, the Red Room is already over. We didn't. In this movie, we found out it was still going, so you literally had to bring it back to get rid of it.
Yeah, I know.
And it's like, and then if we're talking Taskmaster, can we quickly talk as well the Taskmaster Red Guardian fight? Because everybody moves positions and everybody changes. Like Yelena goes to free the Black Widows, and Natasha goes to, tries to go after the big bad, and so we end up with Taskmaster down in the prison where Red Guardian is, and we end up with a fight. And I said this to you, we seen all
quote-unquote fight.
We seen all the flippy-dippy stuff with Natasha earlier, like when she done the head scissors and all this stuff, and did the hero landing pose, which there's a whole funny bit with Yelena as well, like mocking that. To which she ends up doing it herself and goes, ugh.
It's so funny, dude.
Which I absolutely love. But then you've got like Red Guardian, this brute of a super soldier, and I'm like, I would have loved to see Taskmaster, especially like when you've shown like how big David Harbour is. He's a big man against this woman that's now Taskmaster. She's fairly skinny. She's not as she's not like even bulked up much or anything. She's in good shape, but she's still pretty petite. I would have loved to see this petite, smaller Taskmaster going blow for blow.
Yeah.
With Red Guardian.
Agreed.
Like a downright brawl, like throwing each other into walls, smashing through stuff. I want to see them have a fight. I want like a barroom brawl. Like I want everything getting smashed. I want them wrecking stuff.
He got his brakes beat in.
Red Guardian did not get a punch in that fight.
No.
He got his butt whooped. Utterly
and
and completely.
Taskmaster. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm reading Logical's comment. He was basically, that was the scene he was waiting for, an all-out fight with Taskmaster, and it never really came.
That was the rumor, right? That Rachel was Taskmaster pre-release. That's who I thought it was going to be. I legitimately thought it was going to be either Rachel Weisz or Florence Pugh. I thought one of them would be Taskmaster, and I kind of wish it was, because at least it would have been a reveal of a character we knew, and it would be a build-up rather than a character we don't know, who we saw a younger version of get killed earlier in the movie. It's like, because I was literally watching that scene like, who is it? Waiting for the mask to come off, waiting for the to have a big, and there wasn't, and it was set up as a twist. They filmed it as if it was a twist reveal, and it's not a twist reveal if nobody cares.
Yeah.
But you end up with a fight where Red Guardian gets like you said, the brakes beaten off of him because he's just. He gets nothing in. Like, he ends up on his ass so often throughout that fight, and it's like, really?
Yeah.
You're a super soldier.
You can get a punch in.
Throw a fist. Throw something.
Yeah.
And it's like... Also, as well, can I say to you, like, I think I even mentioned to you before we were even out the movie. See, when you take out an engine on this Red Room, how long does it take this thing to start crashing?
I've been falling for 30 minutes.
They took an engine out and that thing didn't even start falling.
Yeah.
For so long.
It was a little crazy.
But yeah, so like, to catch up with the rest of it, like, Taskmaster goes to deal with them. Dreykov brings in all the Black Widows to basically start beating the crap out of Natasha. Yep. Yelena comes in, she like boom, like drops a cloud of the red stuff to clear out their mind control, to free them all, and basically tells them like, okay, you're all free now, and they lead out of there, and they end up coming back to help save them and stuff later and stuff. It's all very cute, So you end up with the thing finally crashing,
After literally, it's been falling for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's like Natasha and Yelena get out of there, and then Natasha ends up like brawling in the air a little bit with Taskmaster, and they end up hitting the ground, and they're facing off, and I'm like, okay, like at this point, I'm like, why is this still going? This is taking like 30 minutes to get to this point since they started crashing the Red Room. Like this has literally been dragged out, but we're finally going to get Taskmaster versus Black Widow rematch from the first fight. The first fight was decent. It was a decent starting fight, and it was one of those, and there wasn't a lot to it, but it was one of those fights where it's meant to be, this is what they can do to each other, and they move on from it so they don't give away too much.
Natasha held her own. I will say that they showed how awesome Natasha was as a fighter,
100%. They did a good job with her.
Yeah, they did a really good job with that.
But Taskmaster gets taken down in like 2 minutes. And then gets sprayed with the stuff to remove the mind control, which honestly kind of ruined the character for me. It's like, oh, so this whole time she's literally just been under mind control doing this for her father. Yeah. And then she even like whispers to somebody like that, it's like, is he gone? Asking about her dad, who the dad is dead at this point. He was in one of the ships that was trying to leave when it blew up, when everything was happening and all this, and you don't care.
No.
You're listening to us, you don't care. When you're watching the movie, you don't care. It's like he dies, that's all you need to know.
Yeah.
That's legitimately like I was not invested at that point in that character, and I'm like, and then like Black Widow calls in General Ross to come in and do the clear up and stuff like that. So Yelena then takes off with Melina and Alexei and all the Black Widows. They all get on a jet and take off with the goal of like they're going to go away and be this new kind of family that's going to go and start freeing widows around the world, who are still under the mind control, and start setting them free and having a life and stuff. And Natasha is going to wait for General Ross and go back to being the Avengers and all that stuff because she has to, because she needs to be there for Infinity War.
Yeah. We know this. We know this already. That's why, again, I feel like this movie is just, I don't want to say irrelevant because that sounds super harsh, but it's irrelevant in the larger context of the MCU because we already know what happens.
Yeah, let's go into that a little bit. We'll tie up this and then we'll go into that because there's very little left of this. So they show up, the first bit of the credits kind of start and stuff like that, or at least there's a blackout, and then it goes to Natasha with her new blonde hair meeting up with her. Well, they won't. No, they won't because she's dead.
Yeah, I know.
Love interest. It's like, and he finally came through with a little bit of time and money, as he said, and got her a proper ship. And
it looks like a Quinjet, right? That was a Quinjet.
Yeah, it looks like a variation of a Quinjet, and I'm like, okay, awesome. Cut to black. Nothing of importance happens there, and then we get the cut to the mid-credit scene with Yelena at Natasha's grave. So we're in the modern day. She's approached by Valentina, who we saw debut. I think it was mentioned by LG. She was meant to debut in Black Widow like this, but I'm glad that they pushed that back then. So that because the debut in Falcon and Winter Soldier was much better when she approached John Walker and hires him as US agent. It sets up that the two of them have actually been working together for a while, because it looks like it's going to be a recruitment at first, and it turns out they've actually been working together. So everyone's feeling like it's setting up for the Dark Avengers, because you've got their version of Black Widow and their version of Captain America and US Agent now. No, this would not have been a good introduction, LJ. Absolutely not. This would have been an awful introduction for Valentina. Falcon and Winter Soldier was the perfect intro for her.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, how is this an introduction? It's not even an introduction to the character. They don't say anything. But then they reveal, like, she tells her, like, okay, so do you want to go after the person that's responsible for Natasha's death, and hands over a folder with Hawkeye's picture in it, with Clint Barton's picture in it. And that's the end.
We had a long diatribe on this.
Yeah, it's like we had a whole conversation about this because, like, okay, she's going to show up in the Hawkeye show and stuff, so go after Hawkeye, okay. Alright, let me just reiterate what I was saying tonight on my side of it for that one, and why I've got an issue with why that doesn't work. Yeah, she didn't even introduce herself, LJ. But why it doesn't work, Yelena being hired to go after Clint for killing Natasha. Natasha Romanoff's death at Endgame is legitimately the second biggest hero death and second biggest world-saving thing that takes place. The first one, obviously, is Iron Man, Tony Stark.
Yep.
Snap, Thanos and his crew are gone.
Yep.
There is so many people at his funeral. He's like a worldwide name. We even see it in Spider-Man Far From Home. There's murals of him painted on walls because Iron Man legitimately saved the universe and took out Thanos and his army and gave up his life to do it. Do you really think when celebrating people, the Avengers would not have mentioned Natasha?
Yeah.
And would not have brought her forward as well? Because Natasha literally gave up her life so they could get the 6th Infinity Stone, which required a sacrifice. So do you really think when everyone was praising Iron Man, they would not have told? Because think about it, after Winter Soldier, the world knows who Black Widow is. They even said it, like her ledger and stuff was out there when Hydra fell. Like, people know she's an Avenger. People know who Natasha Romanoff is. Do you really think they wouldn't have put it out there, the fact of like, hey, he gave up his life to this, but we would not have gotten one of those stones if she had not sacrificed herself?
Exactly. You mean
and
to
that's
tell me
the thing.
That the ongoing narrative is that he killed her? Legitimate? Is that what we're saying?
Even if she was in hiding, even if like Yelena has been kind of shut away with Valentina, although it's not shown that at all. Valentina doesn't seem the kind to do that, for that sort of thing. She clearly knew her sister was dead. She clearly got the news her sister was dead. She was out in the open on vacation on her own because she mentions Valentina interrupting her vacation. So she's clearly allowed to be out and about in the world. You tell me she couldn't have gotten the information of that, but somehow thinks Hawkeye's responsible? I'm like, come on, it just doesn't make sense.
All right, so we have a little bit in chat. So Caffeine Rush, what's up, dude? I don't know much about MCU. I wanted to check in. I just watched Black Widow. Does Julia Louis-Dreyfus' character evil? And does that make Yelena like an anti-hero?
Yeah.
I don't know a whole lot about Valentina's character, to be quite honest.
Valentina is pretty much a kind of villain. In the comics, she has the moniker of Miss Hydra, which basically tells you bad guy, because she's got Hydra in her name. But everyone's talking about they're setting up for the Dark Avengers with US Agent from the Falcon and Winter Soldier series, and with Yelena, they're setting up for the Dark Avengers, who are it's a group made up basically of anti-heroes. They're not quite villains because they're still acting in a hero capacity, but it's more a group of anti-heroes, so they're definitely taking her down that direction.
Logical says Natasha and Yelena being invincible literal memes by this point. Explosion after crash after explosion after nose breaks, no visible injury, no investment in what's happening to these characters, zero stakes, entering Fast and the Furious territory.
Yeah,
I would like for them to go to space, logical, and then it would be a full circle. Like, yeah, I agree with you, dude.
But yeah, by the end of that movie, absolutely logical. It was like literally these women can have anything happen to them and they will not die. It's just they're taking everything.
Like, my logical brain, when they're falling through the air and all that debris is coming down and they have their parachute up, I'm like, okay, I'm not dumb. Like, logically, something would rip through that parachute tarp in a hot second and they would fall to their death. Like, that would be a real thing. That would happen.
Here you go. LJ saying as well, Natasha told Yelena a lot about her adventures with Clint too.
Yeah, exactly.
So I want to know why she'd believe Clint killed her. Like, absolutely. Are the Dark Avengers and Thunderbolts a different thing? Yes. The Dark Avengers in the comics were a group that was created by Norman Osborn during the Dark Reign saga when he becomes president after the whole Secret Invasion thing. He helps end that. So he puts together his own group of Avengers that are kind of dubbed the Dark Avengers, but it's made up of a lot of anti-hero stuff and anti-hero characters, so that's where you get a lot of this coming in. The Thunderbolts, on the other hand, were a group of villains led by Baron Zemo, who basically wanted to portray themselves as heroes to try and operate and pull off different schemes while people thinking they were actually heroes.
Like Red Hulk, Abomination, right? Was one of them.
And later ones, later on, Thunderbolt Ross, who becomes a Red Hulk in the comics, ends up creating his own version of the Thunderbolts. It's kind of more like a special ops team. Gotcha. Kind of like X-Force sort of esque thing, just not for just mutants though. Okay. But the original ones were villains, and then a bunch of them actually decided they wanted to be heroes and found that they actually enjoyed it. So there's been a few iterations of Thunderbolts, but some of them are worthwhile checking out. Because I've been hearing the Thunderbolts as well. Yeah, everyone's been talking about Thunderbolts since the return of Thunderbolt Ross, because he had his own version of the Thunderbolts. and it was made up of a bunch of anti-heroes, so like Agent Venom and Deadpool, Ghost Rider, Punisher, Elektra, a lot of these characters who we've not seen a lot of. It'd be a cool way for them to be reintroduced. But then a lot of people also started talking about it because of the reintroduction of Baron Zemo and Falcon and Winter Soldier, because we got to see Baron Zemo like full mask at one point.
It's awesome, by the way.
And then also as well, by the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier, it was looking like he was going to be out on his own again, but now he's back in Wakanda, so we'll see what happens with that. Abomination and Shang-Chi tells me he might be a part of that too. Yeah, I mean, they'll probably bring him in.
They brought him back. That's so cool.
I mean, that's cool that they managed to bring Abomination back. I'm all for him being back, but that's his return is the only thing that makes me think we're going to see a lot of these characters back. Still the best Hulk and best
Edward Norton
Banner.
Hulk is still the best Hulk and best Banner. I agree. Logical. I agree.
Edward Norton was a great choice for it, but I can also see why he wasn't kept around. Because Edward Norton does have a habit of like disagreeing with studios he's working with and rewriting stuff and trying to do his own thing with certain things. And when you've got a properties like what Marvel do and how much control they have to have over stuff to create as big a world, like it was never going to work in the long term.
Yeah.
Which is sad because
he's definitely my favorite.
He's a great actor. I love Edward Norton, but it wasn't going to work in the long run, which is sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a lot of nods to Hulk lately. Well, yeah, because they're trying to reintroduce bits of Hulk where they can. That's why we're getting like a She-Hulk show and stuff like that coming next year. But yeah, so that was the end up of the movie. My wrapping up thoughts of it is kind of like what we said at the start of, like, I feel like this should have came out right after Civil War. I said it to you. This felt like a Phase 3 movie.
Yeah.
And it's like I felt like it was so hard for me to invest in these characters, knowing that we're not even going to get. It's not even like this is like, oh, we might not see these characters again. Like, this is Black Widow's dead. So many of these characters were set up as like, if they show up, it's going to be in another Black Widow movie, and we're not going to get one. So I'm like, I mean, I don't see, unless it's a situation like we've seen with Abomination, I don't see the return of Red Guardian coming in. I don't see the story of the Widows being continued. At this point, I don't even know how they would reintroduce Taskmaster.
I mean, just think about how much weight I think it would have given Scarlett Johansson's character going into Endgame and going into Infinity War if this movie actually existed after Civil War. Like, it was a movie that was released right after Civil War. You would have had this entire backstory of how she freed all these Black Widows with the help of her sister and her family. She went through a ton of stuff to do it. She grew as a character, and then that character moving into Infinity War, that's a brand new character you're looking at in Infinity War.
Yeah.
It's a brand new character. I think it
adds a new level to Black Widow. It adds a new level to who she is. And I think the big thing I said to you as well is it's not just a case of this movie came out 5 years too late. It should have came out after Civil War. Mm-hmm. There's a massive thing of the fact of, like, we're watching this. Even if I did watch it, like, last weekend, like when you first watched it, like before the end of Loki, it was only one episode away from the end. Yeah. So even if I did watch it then, you watch Black Widow 3 seasons deep into Phase 4.
Yeah.
And those seasons that are on Disney Plus, you can take them as movies. They're essentially long movies.
Yeah, 8-hour movies.
They're designed as long movies,
Yeah.
It's like they're designed as that, and they're fully 100% canon to keep the universe going forward. Mm-hmm. Each of them has built up the forwarding Marvel universe. Like, after Endgame, what's to come? Because that was a question for everyone, especially with a year off. Like, are we going to be as invested in Marvel?
Yeah.
Because Thanos is done. That was the first saga. Mm-hmm. Was the whole thing with Thanos since the very beginning? That was the thing. Like, at the end of Avengers, he was the reveal. It was all building up to this, and it stopped. We no longer have Iron Man. We no longer have Cap, and it's like, is it going to go forward? And we got these characters and got invested in them.
Yes.
I got invested in Wanda and her story and her grief and the introduction of Monica Rambeau and the introduction of White Vision and the hint towards Wanda's kids, who are probably with the multiverse stuff going to be there.
Yeah.
With the, with Falcon and Winter Soldier and the setting up of what the new world's going to look like and the establishing of a new Captain America because we need a new symbol, and Sam taking that over, and this new way the world's going to function. And even Loki, I'm not going to go full spoilers for Loki because we're going to be doing that next week, and for anyone who's not seen it, But it's not spoilers, because in episode 1 that you know the multiverse is coming. They hint at it heavily in episode 1. We already know Spider-Man and Doctor Strange and all this are going to introduce the multiverse. And we already know the introduction of Kang coming, who, you know, with the Timekeepers and the TVA, they've got a connection in the comics, so you already know that's a thing that's going to... All of this stuff is coming, and it is heavily building up. Kang is going to be probably the next big bad for this saga. And people are already heralding Kang as, like, greater than Thanos. I literally saw someone share a comic panel today of, like, Kang literally killing Thanos by aging him in the spot.
Yeah.
And it's like, we are building up to the future. We're not looking back at the stuff where we are. We're like, this is an established universe now. We're going to establish this multiverse of all these options. Kevin Feige had a freaking meeting this week with Marvel about what the multiverse rules are. Mm-hmm. Because Marvel's like...
Dude. That's crazy.
Because Marvel's like, we are taking this seriously. If we're going to hit the multiverse, it's still going to fit what we need to do. Yeah, absolutely, LG, you do. Kang's a really interesting character with a lot of history. He's definitely worth checking out.
Dude, that's crazy. I didn't know he had a meeting to talk through that. That's awesome, though.
And it's like,
I'm so glad they're taking it super serious.
So Marvel is establishing this. Kevin Feige is 100% invested in the multiverse. All these movies are building up to this. These 3 TV shows that we've gotten on Disney Plus are all pushing forward. The rest of the movies that we've got, like, you know, that are coming out this year, stuff like The Eternals and Shang-Chi and Spider-Man, are all pushing the next narrative of these new characters, this new future of Marvel. The rest of the shows that we're getting this year, the Hawkeye show and the introduction of Kate Bishop and what Hawkeye's doing now after Endgame, and he's trying to re-establish who he is because he went off the rails after he lost his family. You've got Miss Marvel being introduced, who's going to become a big part of the Marvels movie with Captain Marvel. We've got... all this stuff is establishing the future and what it's going to look like. And this just felt like a complete look back of not just like what we left in Phase 3, but what we left at the start of Phase 3 with Civil War. Hey, Caffeine Rush, resubscribing. Thank you so much, sir.
Bro.
Welcome back to the Stan Clan. We appreciate it, Caffeine. Thank you so much. But...
yeah,
I mean, like I was just saying, we're finally getting this trail of things to get excited about for the future, because no one knew what was going to happen. If the Marvel Universe was going to fall, this was the moment, because they were going to drop the ball because they did not know what to do after Thanos. And this proves, everything we've seen so far has proven, we know exactly where we're going. This is not a shock to us. We know what's going to happen. And they didn't have to do that. They could have stopped after Thanos.
Yeah.
And went, the MCU's done. And it's like, you know what? You had a hell of a good rush, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Like, it's like we paused and now we're looking back at stuff that happened before. And it again, I'm gonna go back to what I said at the beginning. I feel like this, in the larger scheme of things, I feel like this movie is irrelevant. It adds nothing.
There's characters that literally. I want you to get invested in characters that we are not going to see again. I want you to get invested in a character who we already know is dead.
This movie adds literally nothing to the larger MCU. Literally nothing adds to the larger MCU other than Yelena. That's it.
If this was going to be anything, this should have been a Disney Plus miniseries. There should have been a few episodes of like this is not integral to Marvel in the MCU going forward, but it's an expansion of the universe that happened over there. So if you want to invest in it, you can, but don't worry, it's not a big deal. Logical saying the issue is the big show is over, it's done. I don't know how Marvel can reach that climax ever again.
I think once they get to the villains like Galactus, King, Silver Surfer, Doctor Doom, I think the levels of movie that we're gonna see are gonna like dwarf the Thanos saga. In my opinion.
Yeah, in my opinion, like, Thanos was a good starting point. And that's the thing, Thanos is a big bad. The Infinity Gauntlet is a massive story in the comics. Mm-hmm. The thing is, there are so many villains who could trash Thanos.
Yeah.
Kang is so much more powerful. Kang is literally a Lord of Time.
Yeah.
And then, and if you've watched this channel for any length of time, you know I am a nut for Doctor Doom. You know I'm a massive fan of Doctor Doom. And I watched the god level Doctor Doom in Secret Wars rip Thanos' spine out of his body without even blinking, while he had the Infinity Gauntlet on his hand.
Yeah.
The villains that are Oh yeah, we'll see Mr. Sinister logical. Don't worry. It's like when they start introducing the X-Men stuff. The problem with introducing the X-Men stuff is they literally are having to take their time on it because the X-Men are like legitimately a cinematic universe in themselves because of how big they are. So introducing that, but I promise we will see Mr. Sinister, we will see Apocalypse, we will see. That's a question I had because I was watching some stuff on Kang earlier today. Could this be an introduction for mutants? Because there was already.
I was gonna say that. So I think I don't want to spoil anything for those of you who have not seen Loki, so I won't go too deep. But I feel like now that the MCU is really pushing this multiverse, that's their golden goose for the X-Men. Well, that's how they can introduce X-Men.
Well, I've got the thing that I'm thinking is like there's actually a link to Kang if they wanted to go this road. I don't know how they would do it, but Kang is like from the 31st century. He's from the future.
Yeah.
And he developed time travel based on Doctor Doom's time travel technology, which there's an introduction for Doom if you wanted to do something with it. But he based it upon that and actually travelled back to ancient Egypt to make himself a pharaoh king. I forgot the name. I cannot remember his name that he takes. But one of the reasons he travels back to ancient Egypt is to try and recruit a protege and a young Apocalypse. Ramatut, that's it, yeah. He becomes Pharaoh Ramatut and he tries to get, because that's the era that Apocalypse is from, and wants to try and recruit him as a young apprentice for him and get him. And I'm like, that could be an interesting connection to try and bring an Apocalypse, who's like the oldest mutant sort of thing and has been around the longest. So that would be an interesting connection if they wanted to do it. I think the multiverse is going to have a factor in it, like you said, because that's definitely a big one for it, and that's a big one for where they're going. But like, I don't. As long as they do it right, Marvel has shown me that they can handle stuff, and I'm like, Thanos is a great introduction and an amazing villain, but if they do Kang properly, because he's getting introduced, like Kang the Conqueror's getting introduced in Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. Like the proper Kang the Conqueror arriving, but he's an Avengers villain, he's a Fantastic Four villain, he is a big level threat, and if done properly he could be done really well. And like he could top Thanos if they get it right. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that.
LJ in a comment says we'll see some slow introductions to mutants but nothing right away. I agree. I think they're going to pepper them in throughout the upcoming movies and Disney Plus series.
I think
until the proper introduction.
I think Feige's got a whiteboard on his wall, like one of those boards with all the string and stuff on it, and where everything connects. I think he's got one on this wall for the current MCU, and then one on a different wall that's like, how do we introduce mutants? And it's literally like trying to converge them with each other. You know what I mean? It's like they'll introduce it slowly, and I think they did the smart thing by announcing Fantastic Four first. Fantastic Four is an easy introduction. Compared to introducing a group of people that we have never seen. And one of the things with the multiverse that people are talking about now is that we could see a Secret Wars movie. And if we see a Secret Wars movie, that could be the introduction for the mutants, having Secret Wars and having like one of the universes gets destroyed or something, and they have to like move over and bring them over in some sort of way. It's like there's so many options out there if you do a multiverse thing. One of my favourite X movies, truly. You enjoyed Dark Phoenix, Logic? Personally, I wasn't a fan of it. I wasn't a fan of what they did with the Dark Phoenix stuff, but hey, if you enjoyed it, man, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I know most people weren't big fans of it. But like I said, comics are a very personal thing, and superhero stuff. Like, if you enjoyed it, by all means, do. But yeah, I wasn't big on Dark Phoenix. I think one of the big issues was that people stopped caring because like Disney owns you now. You're literally just putting this out there. Oh yeah, Def, I'm all alone. Oh, Def, I'm all alone.
It's all good, man.
That's good as long as you know you're alone.
You
it's
like what you like, man.
Hey, there's plenty of stuff that I'm a fan of that people are like, oh, why'd you like that? And it's like, I don't know. I just do, right?
I just do, man. Leave me alone.
I haven't watched it. I've heard good things. Yeah, I've heard no good things from it. Nobody liked that movie.
I mean, just talking about what's coming up. We got What If coming out next month. We got Shang-Chi coming out the month after. We got a Hawkeye series coming out the month after. We have Miss Marvel coming out this year, Disney Plus show. We have Eternals coming out, and then the year is capped off with Spider-Man: Far From Home. Like there is just so much stuff coming.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we've got tons of stuff coming out in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
There's so many projects, so much continuity coming. Like, it's going to be phenomenal.
And then even next year, you have Doctor Strange, you have Thor, you have Black Panther. The next one, and you're gonna have a whole bunch of Disney Plus shows like Moon Knight. You're gonna have She-Hulk. It's gonna be nuts, dude.
Yeah, there's so much coming in the next few years, and it's like there's going to be something for everyone, which is generally how I feel about comics most of the time. Anyway, is like there's a.
I mean, you got Venom 2 coming out. Come on, man.
No. Well, no, I literally I forgot how much I was not looking forward to that until we saw the trailer yesterday, and it was like
bad.
Just that opening scene.
Oh, it's so bad.
It's like, you say potato,
and the thing is,
I say potato. Well, he's cooking in the kitchen.
You want to put your best
foot
forward in the trailer, and if that's the best foot of that movie,
well, that's what I'm worried about. That's exactly what I'm worried about. Is that the best foot? And I'm like, oh, Sony.
Yeah, I'm pumped for Moon Knight. Logical. He's a very interesting character to me. I didn't grow up reading him, and I don't know a ton about him, but he seems extremely interesting to me. I've started collecting some issues with him, and that's gonna be a cool show. I'm a huge Oscar Isaac fan.
Oh yeah, Oscar Isaac's a great actor, and like I'm excited to see what he does with Moon Knight. And you got the potential to do something with that show that they just don't do with any other show. Like, they've had no other show can reach that. Just the mental capacity they're going to go into for this man. It's like it's going to be awesome.
One thing that I am glad, I know we're kind of getting on a rant here, but one thing that I'm glad Marvel is kind of really leaning into now is the mythological. Like, they kind of shied away from that at the beginning of the MCU, like, you know, with Thor when he's talking about it's science, it's not whatever. But like, you and I were talking about it because we saw the trailer for Shang-Chi and it showed an actual dragon in the trailer, and we were like, holy crap, an actual dragon in the Marvel.
There was more dragon in the Shang-Chi trailer than there was in 2 seasons of Iron Fist.
Oh my god.
Iron Fist is like, about a freaking dragon giving him his powers. How is there more dragon in a Shang-Chi trailer?
We're getting a proper martial artist film with a proper dragon in it.
I'm like,
I'm just glad they're kind of leaning in with that, and I hope they continue to do that with Moon Knight and the whole moon god aspect and all that stuff. I really hope they just lean as much into it as
See, he says all this stuff, but what Nitro is just really using the mythology for is to show why he's excited about Eternals and that no one else.
Exactly.
Yeah, logically.
I don't mind the Venom movie. Logical. Venom is probably one of my favorite characters.
I don't
mind it. I don't hate it.
It's not my favorite movie in the world, but it's a good sit down. It's a good popcorn movie, just for an action movie thing. Like
Agreed.
You know, don't get me wrong.
Venom 2 looks awful. I'm sorry.
Venom 2.
If you disagree with me, that's totally cool. We can still be friends, but
it's like Venom 2. I'm not excited for it. I hope, and that's the thing for me. See, if I ever look at a trailer for a comic book thing and I say I'm not looking forward to it, know in my mind I've not enjoyed the trailer that I've seen, but I am desperately hoping deep down that I'm wrong.
Exactly.
And I want it to be well, and we will. We'll check out Venom 2. We'll go see, Let There Be Carnage, and we'll sit down and we'll definitely discuss it. I'm pretty sure we'll have a lot to talk about. But I'm like, one of my big things is like, I don't know if I'm sold on Woody Harrelson as Cletus Cassidy. Don't get me wrong, without the hair, it's a million times better.
The clown wig that he had.
The clown wig at the end of Venom is a million times better. But I don't know if I'm sold on him as Cletus Cassidy. I need to see more, because all we've seen is him in the jail cell talking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want to see more before I'm fully sold on him as Cletus. Yeah. Again, I love Woody Harrelson. I'm a huge Woody Harrelson fan.
Same.
I hope he does a great job with it. I don't know if I'm fully sold on him yet, to be honest.
And I'm a gigantic Tom Hardy fan.
Yeah, Tom Hardy's amazing.
In almost everything that he's in.
Yeah, Tom Hardy's an amazing actor. I love Tom Hardy as well. And that's the thing. I don't think he's a bad choice for Eddie Brock. I don't necessarily agree with the writing that Eddie Brock has given in the movie. I think he could have been written a bit better, and I think the story could have been better.
Yeah.
But Tom Hardy's a phenomenal choice for Eddie Brock.
Yeah, I agree.
I think he could portray him well. I just don't like how it's put forward.
And I think the actual look of Venom, obviously minus the whole, he actually came from the the Spider-Man suit.
But like the actual CG looking Venom.
Minus all that, the actual physicality of Venom is perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's like I think it works perfectly for it. Chat's going off here. LJ saying Venom 2, let there be a great movie. I hope so. Kathy saying, I agree with Woody. I love him as an actor, but I don't know about him after watching the trailer. I felt like I was the only one with that opinion. No, I completely feel you on that one, Kathy. I completely feel you on that. Like, I don't know if he's going to be great at it. I hope he is, but I need to see more of him. But without the wig from the end of the first Venom, I'm already more sold on him than I ever was.
Yeah.
Logical Waters reminded me that Louis is an amazing, completely underutilized director. Would love him doing the MC movies. Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I'm up for any new directors come in and do something awesome. Tom Hardy's wheelhouse role is basically a character where 50% of his dialogue is grunts and weird noises. This is true. He does do grunts and weird noises as well. Lawless.
Shout out to Lawless, the movie.
Lawless, Mad Max.
Yeah.
It's like yeah, if he gets to grunt for a bit, he does that throughout Venom though. That's the funny thing. It's like a cross between grunting.
So weird.
It's like he's got this weird like Bobcat Goldthwait like impersonation going on in that movie and scenes.
Yeah, he does.
And I'm like, I don't know why. It's just so random.
So weird. Yeah.
It's like, why are you making those noises? There's not even a reason.
I'm gonna sit in this lobster tank.
The lobster tank. Why are you in there? I'm
gonna eat this lobster raw. Whatever.
I'm like, oh my goodness.
We just went on a gigantic rant about the Venom movie.
To be fair, we held back quite a while. These rants usually come like at the start and in the middle of stuff, so the fact we got to the end before fully ranting about something is actually pretty good for us. But yeah, I think that's pretty much our wrap up for the Black Widow movie review. Overall, final thoughts on it.
Again, not necessarily a bad movie in and of itself, but as it pertains to the larger MCU, which is what we're all here for, completely irrelevant.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it was a decent movie. In the terms of, like, I could sit and I could watch it and I'm not going to be totally turned off by it. It's like, it's a good... It's an action movie with some decent stuff in it and some good funny moments. The family elements are great, but overall, I'm like... I just found it hard to invest in these characters knowing there's probably not going to be connections going forward. And I found it hard to invest in it knowing where Phase 4 is going.
Yeah.
This just felt very 100%. Phase 3. And I'm like, I'm done with Phase 3. When Endgame finished, I'm like, I'm done. I'm ready to go to the future. I'm ready to see what comes next. And I just felt like a step back. And I understand if people wanted more of that world building stuff. For me, I didn't need it. It felt unnecessary to do that world building, but I'm excited for what's to come. But that's us for this week talking on it. We will be back with the podcast again next Sunday, again at 2 o'clock Eastern, where we are going to be doing a full spoiler review of Loki.
Yes,
Loki Season 1, and we are going to get into this. And this show was way better than I had any hopes of it being, and I cannot wait to actually talk about it and where it's going to go with the future of the Marvel Universe, because I did not foresee this having any sort of massive impact on it, but apparently I was wrong in that. If you have not seen it, you've got a week to catch up on it. 6 episodes, all on Disney Plus right now. Go and check it out for yourself, and make sure you come back and check us out for our thoughts on it next week. I need to start playing for Disney Plus. Hey, honestly, what I pay for Disney Plus each month, so like good. Literally for the Marvel stuff alone is worth it. Let alone the Star Wars content, and let alone all the other good stuff that you get in there, all the nostalgia. The Marvel stuff alone, I'd pay that for, like 100%.
The Hulu, ESPN, Disney Plus package. It's like $12.
Yeah, that's what I've got, and it's like it's worth it. I think for that price, it's worth it.
Yeah, that's what we got.
All right. So if you want to keep up with the conversation with us, go ahead and check out our Discord. We are active there on pretty much a daily basis, talking everything comics and geeks and everything in between. So make sure you come ahead and join us there. We are active there all week long. Also, drop us a follow on social media if you are able to. And we have got a Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can follow us there to keep updated on the show. And also as well, we have got some more shows coming up this week. I will be back again tomorrow evening with our crew, as we are going to be finishing up Sea of Thieves, A Pirate's Life. I know we've taken a massive hiatus from Kingdom Hearts to do the Sea of Thieves stuff, but this was a specific DLC storyline drop that we didn't want to just do it in parts because it's a 5-chapter story. But this is the final chapter, chapter 5. So as far as I know, I should be joined by our usual crew for that we had last time, which is Locke over at Locksteady, Watson from the Cop Trio podcast, and Seal from Seal the Centurion. Great show, guys. Was lurking. Thank you, Harlem Knight. I appreciate it. Thank you for lurking. So we will be back with that tomorrow night, and then the following week we will be back on the Kingdom Hearts grind. We'll be getting back into that. I'm ready and excited to get back into that. Nitro will be back on Tuesday night. Tomorrow night is 8:30, by the way. Just because I went to say the time for yours, I didn't actually say a time for mine. So Nitro should be back 8:30 on Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll be working on Watson's piece from Co-op Trio. Hopefully be wrapping that up on this Tuesday so we can start on RKO's piece next week. So, yep.
Absolutely.
8:30 Eastern Standard Time, same as Mondays.
LJ saying it was good hanging with you all. I was glad you could make it in, LJ. Glad you were able to hang out with us this time and spend some time with us. Logical Robot, been fun chaps. Glad I randomly clicked. Fully appreciated fans who share their passions. Thank you so much for popping in, Logical. We appreciate you coming in. I appreciate the conversation that you were able to give us as well, and the follow that you dropped. Absolutely awesome having you here, and feel free to stop by any time. But that's it for us for this week. If you are able to hang around a little bit, we would appreciate it. We're going to go and drop a raid. I think we're going to go drop a raid on Katatui, who is actually playing some First Class Trouble with some friends of ours over on her channel. So we are going to go drop her a raid and say hi over there. So if you can show them some love, drop her a follow, we would greatly appreciate it. It is an 18+ stream for anyone who wants the family friendly content. We try to stay family friendly. So if you're not up for that, if you're able to come over in the raid just to give her a big number of a raid and just show some love, that'd be great. But if you don't want to hang out, understandable. But you all have an absolutely amazing week. It has been so fun to be back with the podcast. I have missed this desperately. I cannot wait for next week's show again. But you all have an absolutely great... Oh yeah, man. I cannot wait. But you all have an amazing and great day, and we will see you all tomorrow night. Take care, and remember, you are burdened with a glorious purpose. Take care, and have a good week. Cierra miedo.